spaghetti.
S-D-P, the Steve Dangle Podcast, with your hosts, Steve Dangle, Adam Wilde, and Jesse Blake.
Excuse me, what do you mean I haven't signed up for Rachel's Raiders yet? I'm there, and my guy named Scott gave me a nice little donation. Thank you, Scott.
That's great. I only had to ask you like 20 times.
Yep.
That's great.
Yeah.
Adam's gonna fall short of like the minimum donation it requires to play.
I don't understand why I get so much heat for this.
Like, he's not gonna get the $20.
I always
do something multiple
I always
times,
hit
you
it.
do it.
I always hit it.
I'm gonna kick your ass. I'm gonna climb over this table, Adam. Jesse, it got to the point where I was like, yo, Adam, check this out. This is so funny. LOL, like laughing emoji. And then it was just the link to sign up.
I asked Adam, hey, did you sign up? And his response was, of course. Like, that's not just gaslighting me, knowing that you haven't signed up the 80 times when we asked you to sign up.
I have a perfect record of showing up on time to things and signing up on things on time.
Yeah.
Perfect record.
If perfect record is like, oh, for a million.
Perfect
Perfect.
record.
Yeah.
It never happens.
Yeah.
Which
Jesse,
is why.
How much
It's
have
perfect.
you raised so far?
A couple $100, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Damn,
Yeah,
you were
me
really
too.
supposed to say more than that. So that I could be like, oh, see? But no, now you're just on par with Adam. So
Yeah.
you signed up. How about you fundraise a little bit?
I'll do some right now. Hit the link in the description and donate to my Rachel's
Are you only putting your link in the
Raiders
description, by the way?
page. No, me and Steve are there. I did not know you had a page.
Oh, okay. I'll send it to you.
This is my job.
I'll send it to you.
Every year, being a captain is a pain in the ass. You have to, it's like herding cats. But at the end of the day, it's just about playing hockey with your pals for a good cause. Am I right, boys?
It's going to be really fun. I'm so looking forward to it this year.
Donate to these fucking idiots' pages.
Yeah,
Yay.
us, the idiots. Also, this weekend, get ready for the first ever live and in-person Game Over head-to-head as Game Over Edmonton and Game Over Calgary get together at the Pint near White Ave in Edmonton.
Head to Edmonton.
Head to Edmonton after the Heritage Classic. You can meet Avery, Dennis, Zach, Audie, Peter. They're all going to be there. Special guests Julian McKenzie and Andrew Berkshire are going to be there as well.
We got Julian.
That's right. That's right. And so we can't wait to see you. It's going to be at 8 o'clock Mountain Time. And we have a special treat courtesy of our good friends at Temperance Brewing, who are the sponsors of Game Over Edmonton. As those who aren't drinking alcohol will be treated to a variety of non-alcoholic cocktails, brews, and spirits. Join us for Sober October. Have a ton of fun. I'm going to give Jesse the link. It will be in the description for this event.
A lot of links.
You can sign up. It's an Eventbrite link, so I will send that to Jesse after the show.
Amazing.
Sober October or October?
It should have been like Sobtober.
Sobtober.
No.
October? October?
See, this is called what is this called? We're working it out.
Brainstorm.
Yeah.
Brainstorming.
Yeah. No, I think they had a name and we don't need to expand on it.
And like Temperance,
I think
we
they
can
figured
change the
out-
name of that also.
What if?
And like Game Over? I'm not sure. It's, the game has just begun in my mind. So we're going to change that also.
Game never ends. Really?
Game never ends. Game forever. Game, it's Jover.
Yeah, so I want to make sure we hit that stuff because it's really cool that we're getting a Game
That's
Over.
awesome.
Yeah.
they're doing
Really
that.
cool.
Well,
It's
and
going to be like sadness because both teams are going to find a way to lose. And it's going to be a lose-lose game.
I don't know if you saw
but
their games last night. The only way these two are going to win a game is if they play each other.
Yeah.
Swear to God. Like, they're so bad.
The Flames have 2 wins. Like, where'd that come from?
I know. How'd they even get that?
one more than the Oilers.
Dude, that is
The Flames top line, and we're going to get to this, the Flames top line has combined in the first 8 games of this year for 11 points total.
It's just not. Oh, my God.
It's a lot.
The Oilers are now. So, for those of you playing at home, I said it last episode, and it's gotten worse. They're now 2 regulation losses away from starting the season at the same pace as the 09-10 Leafs, who finished second last.
It's not going to happen.
It's not going to happen, but like also it might. And at what point do I go, you know what? I might have been wrong about the whole cup contenders thing.
I wasn't going to start here, but let's go with the Oilers.
Last night, they were booed off the ice in the second period. And I think on Sunday, we're going to watch a team get booed off the ice at the Winter Classic. And that's going to be extraordinary to watch.
And they
Heritage
got,
Classic, sorry.
First of all, I don't think we've ever seen that.
No.
Team get booed off the ice in an outdoor game. Second of all, that was, we talked about how much their defense and goaltending has let them down. They actually had a pretty decent performance. Got shut out. It's it's bad. It's bad.
So
man.
let's talk about the start of this game.
Okay.
Going into this game,
You're so good at your job, by the way.
the Oilers were 31st in save percentage.
No. Start at the real start.
Oh,
Doug Waite.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to get into.
Okay, that's the start.
Okay. Doug Waite and Charlie Huddy inducted into the Oilers Hall of Fame, which is great. We love that. That man, underrated. The Doug Waite years in Edmonton. No one gives that enough because of obviously because of when you're between McDavid and Gretzky, it's kind of hard to find your own. But those Oilers teams, you couldn't help but love them, especially that series where it was Cujo and Doug Waite. Again, people forget Cujo was an Oiler too.
Todd Marchand
against the Dallas Stars. That Dallas Stars series to me is one of my favorite from my childhood. Like, it was crazy. I used to beg my parents to stay up late to watch it.
The Cujo glove save from behind the net.
I remember I had that hockey card with him on it. And the guy when I opened it, I was in a hockey card store, and the guy was like, "You're not going to believe it, but you just got the hockey card of the year." It was named hockey card of the year. The Cujo behind the back seat.
Oh, dude, it's so sick.
It's a crazy, and I gave it to you. It's a part of my hockey card collection. I gave it to you. It's in there somewhere.
Leo just got into hockey cards.
Yes.
Just got into, but by the way, like this.
I hope Oilers ones.
Honestly, like I got like a marketing 101 from the Leaf Blackhawks game, whichever it was that started at 6. No, it wasn't Blackhawks. Doesn't matter. Game started at 6. Leafs Capitals.
Yep.
And Leo immediately was like, "These are my heroes. Oh my gosh!" And then he like saw a hockey card of mine, and he asked for more. And SL's like, "Who's Besser?" His favorite one is Besser, because I got him a bunch of Leafs cards, and I was like, "Brock Besser? I didn't get him Brock Besser. Alan Bester."
Oh,
I got him an Alan because he loves the goalies, and now he's obsessed with hockey because because the game started an hour earlier.
Jesse, I just want you to imagine something, okay?
Trying to talk about the Oilers when you host the show with Steve.
It's 2030. All right. Steve's son is just entering the era of boyhood where shots start to become real. Like, when you're a kid, when you're 5, when you're a goalie and you're taking a shot, it's no big deal. But you start to get 8, 9, 10 years old, those shots start to get serious, okay? And Steve's son, who became obsessed with hockey through Steve, has become a goalie because he's obsessed with goalies.
Oh, no.
I want you to imagine Steve in the stands.
What have I done?
Watching his kid take shots off the face from the point as he gets into his teen years.
I'll say that's using your face.
You're gonna be gonna be worried.
Little Paxton Riley's taking shots right off the mask.
Yeah.
He's just aiming for Leo's mask.
Leo will kick Paxton Riley's ass. And also Noah McKenzie. Noah McKenzie.
You could have done better.
Also Ashlyn.
Ashlyn, that's a good one.
Ashlyn Daxton.
Yeah, Ashlyn Daxton.
Leo is going to kick their ass. He's going to make them quit hockey.
So after the Doug Waite and Charlie Huddy thing, what you should know is that the Oilers came into this game 31st in save percentage with an .852. That's a team average. Wow. By the way, Stuart Skinner is an .844 right now. And 31st in goals against average with a .450.
Yeah, you can't win games like that.
Although I didn't need to add the O because O is implied. You could a 4-5.
But as a hockey guy,
person,
I can't help but write the O.
I know.
You have to.
Game is scoreless after 1.
All things considered, that's a good result.
If you were watching the game, though, the Rangers were controlling pace.
Yes.
It's 12-5. They were outshot.
But sometimes you lose a period and you come out of it with a tie, and that's good enough.
Wow.
You go to the dressing room, you regroup, you win the next period.
Yeah.
Dallas last night had 5 shots in the first. They had 16 in the second. Like, not every period is the same. So, no, you don't want to get outplayed in the first. Good that you survived it. You survived to the second.
I don't think every Oiler hates Jay Woodcroft, but they might a little because of that effort in that first period. Like they had a couple really good scoring chances off the rush, but that was kind of it. And then the rest of it was all Rangers. And you have the ceremony, it takes a lot of time. I get like, hey, we're not really warmed up after we got to stand around and have the ceremony, but like the Rangers came out to play.
Yeah.
And this is your home rink. Like you got to come out and show something, especially because of how all the previous games went, where it's a lot of just sloppy hockey. And then you come out and you don't have anything going. Like that first period was bad.
If there was hardcore evidence that ceremonies hurt a home team's chance of winning, they would stop doing them.
Right.
There's no evidence.
Well, the only team that's good at them is Montreal.
Yes.
It's the only team.
45 minutes of pure electricity.
Yeah, well, sometimes they fall flat, but if anybody's going to succeed, it's the Canadian staff. They do a good pregame. Shots were 10-5 after the first, 18-13 after the second, and Jesse mentioned it. The last minute, 20 seconds to go, Oilers fans are already booing because they're down, and it's bad. And all three goals, Adam Fox, Alexei Lafreniere, who's been amazing this season. Really great start. Nice.
Panarin seems to get it. He got him going last night. It was good.
Seems to be, right?
Yeah.
And Oilers fans are booing them going into the second period. So not only are you down 3-0, but your own fans are booing you. And here's the thing. They deserve it.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Quick, at the end of the game, who was unplayable, according to Rangers writers in the preseason, gets the shutout. So listen, the Oilers don't score. It's not that they just don't score. It's they don't score against Jonathan Quick. You can't get one?
Dude, starting Jonathan Quick against the Oilers, even without Connor McDavid, I mean, you should be licking your chops if you're the Oilers, if you're an Oilers fan, if you're even like an Oilers player fantasy holder. If you have Draisaitl, Nugent Hopkins, even like Kane, Hyman, Bouchard, you should be like, oh, we're feasting tonight.
Jesse, you've got a big spreadsheet, and I think it's a shift chart.
Yeah, I love going back to the shift chart just to make sure like my eyes know what happened and who was on the ice and that sort of stuff. Because there was
I'm sorry, are you using the eye test?
I'm
wrong with you? You should never
using
watch the
actual data to analyze what happened in the game because
Bullshit.
they were doing a lot of double shifting Leon Draisaitl, and Leon Draisaitl wasn't the reason at all they lost the game last night. He was actually fantastic. And
I wasn't saying
Stuart Skinner I don't think anybody's saying that. And Stuart Skinner as well had a decent game.
Yeah.
It's just all of the other parts of the Oilers seem to be broken. And they have a guy like Adam Earn who should not be playing up in the lineup, playing with Leon Draisaitl at times. Like he'll start low in the lineup and then Jay Woodcroft will throw him out and he'll be on his wing. And then you have Janmark there who can't play top 6 minutes. And it's a mess of a structure on the defensive side because nobody can seem to get this new zone defense they're trying to go. Their breakouts in the neutral zone especially seems to be where they're struggling. Jack Hahn on Twitter did some work on that about how they're going from neutral zone to the defensive zone and how it just doesn't work for the Oilers. And a lot of this falls on Ken Holland for roster construction. At the end of the day, you got a collection of guys who are not good enough, and you should be able to put a roster together with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl so that works.
And let me back that up.
What if last year was like their maximum?
No. It's too early to say that. But first off, I want to ask you about the shift chart.
Yeah.
Is the person with the dark blue thing Leon Draisaitl or Stuart Skinner all the way through the game? Did Leon play the entire game? Or
It's got to be the goal.
Got to be Skinner, right?
Yeah.
I just thought the amount of times I saw Leon, it could have been him.
So if
Look at him. Look
if
at
you
that.
go through the shift chart, you'll see like triple shifting right
He
here.
played 25 minutes.
It's insane. And then you go and you look at the wingers that he's playing with. It's not good. Like you'll go down to Adam Earn. I don't know if we could.
I think it's Ernie.
Ernie?
Yeah.
It's okay.
I know. You wouldn't look at that and be like, that's Ernie.
No,
But it's Ernie.
And you'll see how many times they're on the ice together.
Oh, you almost brought up Seaweed Man.
There you go.
We need to see him.
So you'll match it up and you'll be like, okay, why is Leon Draisaitl's triple shifting with everybody throughout the lineup? So he's always on. He can't establish a winger and he's doing his best. But when he's paired up with Janmark and Kane doesn't have it going and you have Connor Brown who's struggling to get back into the groove after missing a year of hockey, I don't understand what forward there is going to help this roster outside of Leon Draisaitl.
Can I stick up for Connor Brown for a second? Because he's taken some heat and like I understand it in the Oilers organization. I think when you sign a guy like Connor Brown, you do it with the understanding that he's not going to be great right away.
Well, and I think the expectation was they were expecting that.
Well, they put him on the first line, and like, I think, like, listen, if you want to give him the easiest job possible, I guess you put him with the best player in the world, and you try to get him going. But when he falters, at the end of the day, like, this is a guy who didn't play hockey last year.
Yes. Well, and that's the thing is that if you're Ken Holland, from the outside looking in, it makes sense. I was just pointing to my computer screen so Jesse can bring something.
Oh,
Don't
okay.
worry
I
about
couldn't
it.
tell who.
I wanted, and it made sense to make this signing because it's a good depth player who has in the past scored 20 goals. Why wouldn't you take a chance on Connor Brown?
Yes. Yeah.
So, but the problem is a contract like Connor Brown's and a few others on this team, I'm not going to single him out as like a problem.
Right.
Is something that Jesse touched on very briefly. And the reporters in Edmonton are all over this, by the way. And we're going to play a couple clips from the press conference with Jay Woodcroft last night. But this one has to do with the 20-man roster construction. And essentially, can you hold players accountable when you can't sit them? And one quick thing I just want to say to Oilers media and staff, well done, because you actually mic the reporters for press conferences. Thank you so much. This clip ends at 6:30. Jesse, go ahead.
Okay.
Roster when it comes to holding, players accountable and doing normal things. Coach's currency is ice time. You've got only 20 guys here. Talk to us about that juxtaposition.
As I said this morning, I worry about getting the most out of those 20 guys. And, we've won games shorthanded before. The bottom line is we're not playing to our capability right now. And is there ways that we can hold people accountable with ice time? Yeah, there are. We can remove special teams or privileged ice time, offensive zone starts, those type of things. As I said this morning, for me, my concern and where I put my attention is on the 20 people that are before me. I don't worry about what I don't have. I try and focus on what we do have and try and get the most out of them. And we can get more. We can get more because we're not yet playing to our full capability.
Okay,
Jay,
so
what
let's
did you
pause it
think
there.
of the
So what he doesn't say there is yes. But he says it, but he doesn't say it.
Yeah, that's an extremely good answer.
He handles them well. You could tell the reporters like him.
Yeah, he's built for that market. It's a tough market to be a head coach in, and Jay Woodcroft seems to be handling it very well.
The only thing I'll say, and Maddie, if you can put him back on the screen, the only thing I'll say, like, even though his answer was composed, look at that tie.
That's a tight tie.
Holy shit. Even though he might not say it, like his words don't portray him, but
It's like the Looney Tunes where they pull the tight so high, or the tie so high that their head explodes.
yeah, it turns purple.
Yeah.
Someone needs to teach him how to do a Windsor knot. Like,
Yes.
it's
Like,
something nice and thick.
Yeah, my dad would have a fit if he saw me with a tie like that.
Oh,
I was
yeah.
anal about that.
Man, oh man. As someone who doesn't, I'm just saying I don't know how to tie a tie, and usually when I try, it looks like that.
Jay Woodcroft, I watched the whole press conference, about 10 minutes long. Jay Woodcroft said at least 3 times during that post game that the only way through this is to come together. Now, one of the things that's under the microscope, and last night I don't think it was that bad, but it has been horrible, is the Jay Woodcroft defensive system. Now they question it a little bit, so Jesse, I sent you a second clip. It'll end at 8:05, and essentially they're going to address it without addressing it. There was a lot of questions about McDavid and the Heritage Classic, as you would expect, but this is one of the ones that slipped in there, and he also defended it before the game. We'll get to that quote next. I just think this defensive system is really relevant to the Oilers right now.
There's been a lot of focus on the defense, especially lately. Zach Hyman said, hey, there's very few problems defensively tonight. We didn't score. Does it feel a little right now like whack-a-mole, where you get one thing figured out and it's on to the next, and there's just myriad of problems like that can't quite all get fixed?
I don't look at it like that. You might look at it like that. I look at it like the team is trying to develop some solutions here. We are in the mud puddle. We are. But our way forward is to work together to find a way. And I think you find a way to get 2 points, and then you build off of that.
Yeah, I mean, we do see this where a team,
implements a new system that.
Well, not just that. Like, they have the defensive capabilities of a wet napkin. And then they go, okay, we're going to figure this out by hoping the goals come and just tightening up a bit.
Yep.
And like, you could kind of, what were the shots, Jesse? You were saying
Adam had them.
I can
had
pull
them?
them up. Hang on.
I know they started the game 6-1 in favor of the Rangers, and then they ended about 10-5 in the first.
10-5, 18-13, and then the Oilers came back and, score effects, but 11-4 in the third.
So
for the Oilers.
You kind of see it, right? So they start not so good. They tighten it up at the expense of their offense. So after it was 6-1, shots are basically even. Tighten up. Second period, it opens up. It's the shots, I think you said, were 18-13. And
that's when the Rangers started.
They tried to generate a little offense, and they just weren't able to. They're not able to connect the two pieces. Maybe next game they do. The Heritage Classic isn't their next game, is it?
I'm pretty sure it is. It's
Oh,
on
for
Sunday.
the love of God.
So here's the thing, and I want to add to that.
So tough.
The defensive system thing, guys, and this is I really wanted to get your thoughts on that. I've been buzzing to get your thoughts on the Oilers this morning. So before the game, and it was after. This was actually after their previous game.
Right.
They asked Jay Woodcroft about this, and he said, "I think you guys in the media call it a zone defense, like the new system." He's like, "I would say it was popularized by a team that had the best record in the NHL last year in Boston. So there's a lot of similarities there. I think through the first 5 games, we gave up one defensive zone goal. Last night, it wasn't good enough. Part of that's on us, and part of that's on the other team that did some unique things, some good things that their top players found a way to break our system." And what he means is the goals aren't, he thinks the goals are not necessarily happening in the defensive zone. They're coming off the rush. They're coming in whatever. My point in this is, what's the team he references there?
The Boston Bruins.
And what do they have on their blue line?
Good players.
Players.
I think there's a skill discrepancy.
Yeah.
And when you have a system like that, like, I understand the system and the system can work, but do you have the personnel?
Yeah, it's easier for lesser teams to play man-to-man because it's simple. You know, it's you grab your man once you enter the D zone, you grab the guy that you're supposed to have and you stand next to him and you guard him. You know, it's the same way like basketball works. And the zone defense, and they're not playing, I think he's trying to push back on the zone thing just to like galaxy brain it, because they're not exactly playing a zone. They're trying to play the hybrid zone that Vegas won the Stanley Cup with, where, hey, we have a zone, but if it kind of breaks down the corners, you can grab mans and then go back to your zone defense. So
But that requires confidence.
But
all those guys are killers.
yeah, like it's the Vegas Golden Knights, and they were able to do this. And Florida played man to man all the way to Stanley Cup final. Like that was their D scheme.
Also, killers.
Also great players who can handle that.
But if you're the Oilers, I get it. Sorry, Jesse, I don't mean to interrupt. If you're the Oilers, though, guys, coming into this season, would you not look at yourselves and go, we're killers too?
They don't play like it. Like Bouchard is big for what? Nurse
Well, for a lot of points.
Nurse is big. I think injuries have severely limited what he's able to do. We know Ekholm is playing less than 100%. Let's say CC is big for what? Is Kulak hurt? I know Desharnais is big, but
no, Kulak was out there.
kind of limited. Yeah, but I mean, like playing.
They got
Playing a little hurt.
I
don't know.
feel like, didn't he miss like preseason games or something?
CC, Desharnais, Broberg, Darnell Nurse, Ekholm, Kulak.
Ekholm's not playing like Ekholm. Like the
he
Ekholm
was
that was
injured.
there last season. Like since he's been back from missing like the first game or two, like he's looked a little slow.
But like the Bouchard stuff that you highlighted in one of their previous games, can't remember which. Like, I mean, when I say big for what, I mean, you know, okay, fine, you're big. If you're not going to use it, who cares? Like it has no effect on the game if you're not going to use it. So I think there's an effort thing there, but a lot of these guys I think are kind of limited skaters, to be honest. We were sort of off camera talking about Nurse having like a bit of a Carlson thing, where you see him skate just up and down the ice, and you're like, oh my God, this guy skates like the friggin' wind. You ask him to do much else, it's not It's not happening.
Not like these guys haven't been playing hockey their whole life. They know how to run a new system in a zone and adapt to different things. It's just about doing it at the NHL level as good as the Boston Bruins and Vegas Golden Knights. And if these collection of guys can't do that, they understand it. They're just not capable.
I do think the Oilers will figure it out, but I'm also kind of coming to grips with, I think I've overestimated what their decor is capable of.
And all of this, I think, should fall on Ken Holland.
Yeah, I mean, dude, you're not wrong, but like also
he looked like a genius with the Ekholm pickup last year.
It's a fantastic move, and it was exactly what they needed. And like the fact they were able to get Nashville to retain,
crazy. How?
Like it's so like for as many years as they did, and like. I really did think they were cup contenders, man. So, like,
well, they still are. I mean, guys, remember, we are not at game 10 yet. So I would never take the Oilers out of the conversation this early.
Right.
But as you keep saying, yes, there's 82 games, but midseason does come quick.
It comes early, even though there's 82 games. There's so many games.
There's a lot of games. And listen, we got to break it down as we see it. We could be having this conversation in January. The Oilers have won 20 straight. Would anybody be surprised?
Well, this happens every year. Every year there's one team where I go, they're going to be fine. And then after a while you go, ooh. And then about American Thanksgiving, you're like, oh, so I was just wrong.
Well, I think a couple of years ago you picked the Canucks. And
what's he doing? Holy shit.
They always have the talent.
They were horrible.
Look at the Flames. They have
that
the
was
talent.
The Travis Green Canucks.
Yes.
Oh, they were terrible.
Guys, I want to give you a little trivia. I want to do a little trivia with you, okay?
Okay.
Now, first off, before we start this, I'm going to start with a disclaimer. Jesse, Steve, how much do we put into plus minus as a stat?
Not a ton.
Okay. But if it's really bad, then you can say, okay, things aren't going well, right?
If someone is like minus 20 after 7 games or something.
Right.
Yeah.
How about this for a stat? Not a single player on the Edmonton Oilers is plus anything.
No way.
Wow.
Not one.
Not even like Connor.
Nobody.
Leon.
Nobody.
Wow.
There are 2 players that are even. Mm-hmm. Name them.
It's going to be someone you wouldn't expect. Okay, Brett Kulak.
Okay, who are your 2 players?
My players are Brett Kulak and Adam Ernie.
Okay, Jesse.
I'll go with Janmark and Brown.
You're going to love this. Leon Draisaitl.
See, we were trying to do
Yeah, you're trying to galaxy brain it.
Damn it.
And Cody Ceci. Now,
there you go.
There are 2 people on this team who are a team worst -8.
Is it 7 games?
7 games. Who are the 2 players that are the team worst -8 in 7 games? Both of them have played 7 games, by the way.
Darnell Nurse is one of my picks.
Darnell Nurse, Evan Bouchard.
Yeah.
You're both right about Evan Bouchard.
Okay.
The other guy, Evander Kane.
Yeah.
Ooh. Oh, wow. That's bad.
Yeah. Now, again, it's not it's not a stat that says anything, but it does reinforce if things are going bad. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad.
Even your plus minus is bad, right? Like it's
like, listen, I think you tolerate, you don't love, but you tolerate -8, 10 points.
Right.
Because you're like, well, they're getting it done in the power play or something, but like, what's he got, 3?
Yeah. Kane?
Yeah.
Yeah, 1 goal, 2 assists.
Oh, good Lord.
Not good.
I was guessing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Oh, man.
You're right. And here's the thing. Things are not much better 3 hours down the road with the Calgary Flames, who got booed after the first goal was allowed. They also got booed at the end of the game. As I told you before, the top line has 11 points in 8 games. And Nikita Zadorov after the game said, I don't blame them. I would boo us too.
Okay. Can I just say, he said it. That's great. That's enough. Like, as a fan, like someone who covers this, Nikita, please, yeah.
Keep talking.
Keep it up. No, this is great. But if I'm in the Flames organization, I'm like, all right, shut up. Because after the previous game, he was talking about like, we're not playing together. We're playing as a bunch of individuals. Now he's like apologizing to the fans. Okay. You said it. That's enough. That's enough, man. We're trying to fucking figure this out, dude. Now, maybe it distracts from the
He
top
said, we're
line.
playing like shit right now. It's tough to watch.
I mean, those. I pointed this out years and years ago on the podcast. Those Russians don't know subtext.
Yeah.
Russian hockey players are just blunt, and they go, "Here's what's going on."
Yeah.
They don't tiptoe around anything.
I like
It's just
his
we're
honesty.
playing like shit.
Jesse, do you have this shift chart for the Calgary Flames as well?
I can get it. Yeah.
I think if my stats are correct here, Zadorov played over 22 minutes last night. And I like
I'll just
Nikita
look up.
Zadorov, but should he be playing that many minutes?
On a team with that much talent,
22-19 Zadorov played.
like defensive talent.
They've got great players.
Like they were
Great
talking
players.
about Mackenzie Weegar being the next captain.
Yeah, one of the stats I forget. I think it was just on Twitter or something that I saw out of the first line that you keep referencing that hasn't scored. Last night, the three of them combined for one shot on goal.
Oh my God!
Nazem Kadri had one shot on goal, and that was it. Huberdeau had nothing, and Lindholm had nothing.
That's the top line,
Yeah,
and they got one shot.
yeah.
It's nuts. It's nuts. Ryan Huska said, you haven't questioned our work ethic to this point, but tonight that's a different story, so that's not acceptable. So it's not, and you saw the body language from Nazem Kadri, guys, right? Like he's slamming his stick on the bench when he didn't get the penalty call. At the end of the game, he's looking up at the, like he's frustrated. I don't blame him.
He's always needed, and I feel like the Flames might lack this. Naz has always needed someone to give him a shake every now and then. Not that he doesn't have a fire, not that he doesn't try, just like Naz, like focus, dude.
Yep.
And I think he had that in Colorado. Like, if you need someone to give you a shake, Nathan McKinnon will beat you to it. Like he'll, he'll know it before you do. And look at that, he played the best hockey of his career and has immediately fallen off a cliff. Like, well, we all knew that flirting with 100 points was
Probably not regular.
but like I don't know, 70 for that amount of money. 70, 75, 80.
What do you see from looking at the shift chart, Jesse? Is there anything
No,
there?
I was taking a look. I think it's interesting that they've decided to pair up like Kadri and Lindholm and Huberdeau, and how that experiment hasn't really worked.
Lindholm should be the finisher on that line. Am I wrong?
Should be. Nobody's
Huberdeau and Kadri
nobody's
both play
Kadri too.
Nobody's
You know?
finishing. Nobody's shooting.
Yeah. Nobody's shooting. Like that's a huge red flag to me.
Now, if you were to look at their career averages, all of them, and I don't know what their save percentages are offhand,
It's not great.
but their career save percentages, shooting percentages, excuse me, for those three guys are pretty good, right? I would say 12 to 15% at least for all of them.
Naz had the one really, really bad year.
Yeah, in
And
Toronto.
Other than that, it's been normal.
You'd have to think that eventually this regresses in a positive way
Sometimes it doesn't. And
for an entire season.
this is the concern that we flagged with the Flames in the offseason about the age. And like, I'm not saying they're all old. None of those guys are old. But you know,
It's age plus contract, though, isn't it?
well, it's age plus contract, but also the regression doesn't have to come.
Okay.
I feel like regression benefits younger players because they get better. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, if you're a career, I don't know, 11 shooting percentage guy, and you're shooting 6, I don't think it's a given that you're just going to return to 11. You know what I mean? Like, as you get older,
sports, yeah, you can just fall off and fall off.
well, and even if you do regress, you know, it goes back to like, I don't know, 9. And but there's a difference there. There's a difference there. And this, I think the most concerning thing about the Calgary Flames, like with the Edmonton Oilers, you look at them and you see a really strong team that doesn't have it figured out right now. And most of us have confidence that they will.
Why is that, though? Why do we have confidence that the Oilers will?
Because they have super duper ridiculous superstars.
And because they did it,
And because they did it.
right?
Yes.
They did it last year.
They made it to the Final Four. They then the next year they gave Vegas their best challenge en route to a Stanley Cup. And as soon as their end of season press conferences happened, they all had a fire in their eyes and a confidence in their words that made you think, yeah, these guys are going to go for a cup.
What about the Flames?
The Flames, meanwhile, pouting, upset, horrible vibes, and we all said it's the coach. It's the coach, and as soon as they get rid of the coach, everything's going to be fine. They had a coach that made them feel terrible about themselves. They had a goalie who, couldn't stop water from falling into the ocean. And that goalie is typically not that bad. The vibes are typically not that bad. You get a new coach, everything's going to be fine. It's not just that Calgary is struggling, it's that they're struggling with the same shit. Everyone's sad. Puck's not going in unless it's in their end. No problem the Calgary Flames had last year has fixed itself. It's a problem.
I was a lot lower on the Flames in our previews than you guys, and a lot of that was because I was like, they haven't done it, and there's no evidence that they can do it. But last year, if they get a couple saves, they're in the playoffs, but it still wasn't, like, everybody was below their offensive expectations as well, and they still have not shown us that they can do it. The guys that Treliving put together after everybody wanted out of Calgary and the new guys he got to replace, the chemistry hasn't been there at all.
And with Alberta, it's just two coaches trying shit. Just trying shit. Throwing guys onto random lines. Like, I understand loading up with Huberdeau, Kadri, Lindholm. It's probably not the best way to deploy those guys.
Yeah, Kadri's got 1 assist on the year. 0 goals. Like, how long do we get into November before Nazem Kadri scores a goal? Like, that's insane.
It's looking an awful like that. It's October 27th.
Yeah, if I told you
got
that
one game left to do it.
If I told you in the preseason Kadri's gonna have 1 point going into November, you're like, that's a disaster.
And also they have some like really young players, like Matt Coronado. I think the world of Peltier is obviously hurt, but you don't want this feeling infecting those guys. They need a shake very fast.
Can I ask you guys a question? You remember the Leafs in 18-19 and then 19-20, okay?
The Leafs in 18-19 and 19-20.
So Leafs in 18-19, I believe, was that not the Nylander holdout year? That was the Tavares signing and then Nylander held out till December.
I think you're right.
Yeah. So the vibes for the vibes for Tavares was great, but then when Nylander held out, it became all we could talk about, right? It was like, man, it was so. And then he came back and he wasn't great.
And he came back and had 7 goals.
And then the Leafs lose to Boston again in a game they should have never lost, in a series they should have never lost. They should have beat the Bruins, right? And Game 5, for whatever reason, saves Mike Babcock's job. They go into the next year. He lasts 20 games, and the vibes are terrible. They bring in Tyson Barrie. He's not a fit. Babs isn't playing the guys that Dubas wants, et cetera, okay? Is there anything to be... there's not a direct comparison here.
That team had 1 good month all year.
But the vibes for the Leafs that year that Babcock was fired and Keefe was brought in, had 1 good month. And then, of course, COVID hit. But, I mean, going into COVID, this was a team that was about to sign Zach Bogosian and make some trades at the trade deadline, and then they lost to David Ayers, and Kyle Dubas said, I'm not going to do anything.
No, they rode a vibes heater after Babcock was fired. They went something like 12-4, and then they went right back to being mid-garbage. And they were in the hunt for a playoff spot because they had a hot month. The Leafs might have missed. Like, they ended up playing the 8-9 series against the Blue Jackets, but had nothing happened, and they got to play. There were 12 games left. There was no guarantee that they were going to make it.
Well, and people always like to talk about that Blue Jackets series, like, oh, the Blue Jackets got lucky. No, I don't think the Leafs were that
Not
good.
at all.
No, they were the same level in the standing.
The team that was up 3-0 with 3.5 minutes to go, and
a miracle comeback.
Miracle comeback. Yeah, they're the ones who got lucky. That series should have been over in 4. What are you talking about?
Yeah.
So I think I understand where you're going with the comparison. It's a team that, all right, we'll fire the coach, and it didn't solve their fundamental issues.
Which, for the Leafs, it didn't either.
Right.
And I don't even think the next year with the Leafs winning the Canadian division or whatever they called it in the COVID year, I don't think their fundamental issues were solved even that year. I think it took till...
No, it was obvious.
I think it took till last year till a lot of the fundamental problems started to iron themselves out, and they actually took a step forward.
21-22.
Yeah. The goaltending thing sorted itself out too a little bit.
And then last year was good. Last year was really good. It was just, there was no point even trying to go for the President's Trophy because of Boston.
But what's on the line here for the Flames, guys, is not it's not just this season. It's some of these players. Backlund.
Oh, they're legacies.
Well, but also they're gone. They're gonna go. Hannafin.
What do you
they've made
do?
progress on the Hannafin contract, but do you think Hannafin wants to sign up long term right now?
Well, so what I don't understand is the Flames going, yes, let's keep the band together. So they have supposedly made progress. Backlund just signed, but they've made progress with Hannafin.
Mm-hmm.
They still don't have a deal for Lindholm, right?
No.
So he's spending money right now.
Yeah, because he's making
Yeah, but
4.8.
somebody's out there is going to give him money.
Someone out there is going to give him money, but
29-year-old center next year going into free agency, he's going to get paid.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, you play poorly, your number goes down.
I don't know what the Flames do if this collection of players don't get it going together. Huberdeau signed till forever. Kadri signed till forever. You have Blake Coleman signed for 4 years. Mackenzie Weegar signed forever. What do you do if this collection doesn't work?
And listen to this, D. Hannafin, Tanev, Zadorov, Osterley, Solovyov, they're all gone next year if you can't re-sign them. Not that some of those names are huge, but still.
At the end of the day, Jonathan Huberdeau is one of the highest paid wingers in the league. He makes $10.5 million. We had that conversation last show about the Leafs' big four, and if all four are going, they're impossible to beat. If three of them are going, they have a really good chance of winning. If it's only two, it's kind of 50-50. If you have a player making double digits on any team in this league and they're not going, your team can't win. Your team can't win.
What if they haven't got going for a year and now 8 games?
Right? This is, we don't practice the power play and, that whole controversy, and now it's still not working. It's really concerning. Mm-hmm. Really concerning. If I'm the Flames, if I'm Craig Conroy, I'm calling everybody. And if I'm everybody, I'm giving Craig Conroy shitty offers because he's the one who needs me. Mm-hmm. It's a really tough position. So, I understand the notion, we got to figure it out on our own. How long are you willing to do that?
Well, okay, so I'm going to ask you guys both this question, and this is how I want to wrap the Alberta segment. Actually, I have 2 questions. Number 1, branding on the Heritage Classic. Should they change it to the Race to the Bottom Classic?
No, because, someone's going to win.
But if it's Edmonton, then they're locked. They are locked even.
Okay, what is the over-under on the amount of joking Macklin Celebrini jerseys in the crowd?
No idea.
Do you know who that is?
No, I have no idea.
He's supposed to be the first overall pick this year.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. But he's got
Man, the Oilers are going to get that.
That is such a... Oh, my God, you're right.
They'd win it.
And then they're going to get Taylor Hall.
Yeah, 100%.
Oh, damn.
They get Taylor Hall back.
They're going to get him back.
They're going to bring Yakupov back from Russia. It's going to be great. Get the first rounders together. The first overalls together. The second one, and this is the more relevant question. Okay, you're Ken Holland and you're Craig Conroy in this situation. Specifically, Jesse, because he's managed teams before, Steve.
Yeah, and you say, high five. We both GM in Alberta.
Yeah.
How
many games do you give this team that you're managing? You're both Conroy and Holland in this situation. How much time do you give your respective teams before you go, we might be in trouble?
Ooh.
The Oilers have to have a longer leash, right?
Oilers have to have a longer leash. At the end of the day, you go, we have McDavid. Miracles happen. They were able to pull a rabbit out of their hat a few years ago when they looked dead. They looked dead, and they were able to make a run of it when Jay Woodcroft came on board.
The Tippett year. Oh, my God.
Calgary Flames, it's a really interesting combination of new and guys who have been there forever. The GM has been there forever. He was hired by Brad Treliving to be his assistant in 2014.
And Treliving was there forever.
The coach just got there in Huska. So, to me, if the Flames realize, we've overestimated this group and we need to make a change, it's got to be on the roster. Oilers could make a coaching change, and hope that it wakes up their stars and, maybe Ken Holland has outstayed his welcome. Calgary Flames, I don't know how you expect to make this team better without making a trade.
You said the coaching was the problem last year, so hey guys, we got you a new coach. Fix the problem.
Right.
Whoops, it's the exact same. Actually, it's worse. They were in the playoff hunt last year at very least.
Last year it was 100% on Markstrom and everybody being unhappy, and now it's the team is also bad.
Yeah.
On top of all of those things.
And your solution to this problem is to keep the band together?
Everybody?
This is, man, Craig Conroy's got to be working those phones. Dryden Hunt's going to get him out of it, though, right?
He must. I was texting Steve. I'm like, man, the only reason I knew Dryden Hunt's name or that it came up was because he gave away the puck on the second goal, I think, last night for the Flames. It was like a bad giveaway. And then I texted Steve. I'm like, Dryden Hunt played for the Leafs, right? And then Steve was able to tell me that he was part of the Malgin deal. They traded him for Zahorna.
Radim Zahorna. Zahorny for Zahorna. He scored a goal as a Leaf. I don't know if Dryden Hunt did. Zahorna did.
Okay, so the Heritage Classic will be very, very interesting. Today's video and audio sponsored by SeatGeek on the STP.
Show?
With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. Jesse, Steve, what's the next event you're going to?
Ooh, the next event.
Let me guess. It's the Wiggles Live.
Hockey game in Sweden.
Oh.
No, the Wiggles actually recently came to Oshawa. We missed them.
Oh, I can't believe
Yeah,
it. Jesse, what about you?
Probably a Leafs game. Or maybe Raptors game, because tickets are probably a little cheaper because they're probably not going to be as good this year.
Yeah, so here's the thing. SeatGeek puts all the tickets across the web in one place. Each ticket is rated on a scale of 1 to 10. So if you look for the green dots, green means good, red means bad. And every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And at SeatGeek, which is the only site that lets you return your tickets ahead of the event with swaps, which is kind of neat.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
so
kind of cool.
So basically, you guys, I came through for you here, okay? For your next event.
You?
It's
Personally?
Me, Adam Wilde.
You get seats in his suite.
Use my code, SDP, not yours.
Wow.
Not yours. My code.
Your code?
SDP. $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. That's $20 off your first purchase with the promo code, my promo code, SDP, but not Steve and Jesse's promo code.
Stands for super duper person.
And make sure you click the link in the description to download the app. This show is brought to you by, in part, BetterHelp. Now, BetterHelp is one of those places that you can go. There are many places you can go to find online therapy, but BetterHelp's one of the interesting ones because you get matched with somebody very quickly. Usually when you make the decision, okay, I think I need some help. You're already at a point where you're probably past you need it. You know what I mean? It's sort of
like water.
Yeah. If you're thirsty, you're already dehydrated.
Yeah.
And it is a little like that. For people that haven't tried it before, I always find that it takes them. It has to be really bad for them to try it. And the truth is, life doesn't need to be that bad for you to try something like this. And for you to see massive benefits. We're talking about solving problems and creating boundaries with your family and friends. We're talking about how to manage your day, something that I kind of struggle with, and therapy actually helped with, was how to manage a schedule. Because I was terrible and late to everything, and still mostly late to things, but sometimes on time.
Why are you looking at me like that?
No, it's me. I was looking at you like that. You were looking at me like that. And it also helps with not taking things personally that aren't meant to be. So here's what we want you to do.
Sounds like the two of you should have a joint code, Maybe the both of you get on this.
We're just going to get
BetterHelp here and get a therapist together.
We're just going to have to get in one of those dust cloud fights from the Looney Tunes. So here's what it is. BetterHelp helps you with your brain, and it'll help you regulate things and help you learn a little bit about yourself too. You can do it over text. You can do it on voice call. You could do it on phone call, whatever you're more comfortable with. And if you don't love your therapist, if you're not connecting, it's okay. They can match you with somebody new pretty quickly because you got to vibe with that person. So make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/STP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/STP. Shane Pinto, 41 games. Now, when the initial rumors started to come out, I think, Dregs and Frege and CJ and everybody had
LeBrun
had tweets and
Saravalli.
Yeah, they all did. The insider was like,
Insider war going on X.
They were all said something's coming, and then of course it came out.
Go listen to the CJ show about this.
Yeah, they were great about it.
Yeah.
And CJ's writing an article for The Athletic today about it too that goes into even more detail. I was talking to him on the way here, so definitely read that. He's writing it as we talk, but it'll be out tonight, I think.
Okay.
So, but
no one is better after something happens.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? Like, there's always a race to be first. CJ is the best storyteller.
To be honest with you, being first doesn't fucking matter to anybody but the person who was first on that. It's about who can break it down. That's why I love CJ.
No, we figured that out over time.
Yeah. So Shane Pinto, 41 games. The NHL says he was suspended for betting irregularities, and that he had not bet. And this is really key, guys. He did not bet on hockey games. So what it turns out, it seems to have happened, is that somebody had access to his account and were making proxy bets on behalf of potentially other people on his account.
So for
using his
example,
credit card.
I have an account. Maddie goes on my account and makes bets on my behalf.
Yes.
Which is even just starting somebody else signing into your account. That is also against the rules.
You can't do that.
And then he went like a step further, and it seemed like the dude who had his account was also making other bets onto the account.
Yes, and and bets on behalf of other people.
Yeah.
That's the rumor. So the weird thing about it is they can flag this because if you're an NHL player and the betting organization is an official partner, then they monitor you, and when they flag suspicious activity on your account, they immediately turn it over to the NHL.
It's so silly because like all of these guys have very public profiles and you know where they are at all moments. Like Shane Pinto's, you got a game in Florida today, and there's the betting app, and you said you placed a bet in New York.
Well,
like,
and his
one
account,
to one is so obvious.
His account is in New York, right? It's in, and during when he was playing, apparently these bets were happening.
So
that's how they.
Oh, like
figured it
while
out.
he was on the ice.
Yeah.
It's not
dude.
smart. It's not smart.
And people are like, wait a second, how did they know that? He's not been under contract this year. That's because this investigation's been going on for 4 months. They were thorough.
Wow. I gotta say, like, I know this isn't the most important part of the story. If you're a player, how do you not look at how the Ottawa Senators handle this and not think, wow, they really have their shit together? Like, they kept this under wraps. We were skewering the team and Pierre Dorian and mismanaging the cap, and there was a method to the madness the whole time, and he just took it.
Actually, I'm gonna point out a flaw in that.
Oh yeah,
The Senators didn't find out till a few weeks ago.
But for those few weeks, they did keep it under
They
wraps.
did keep it under
Yes.
wraps, but the contract offers and the training camp, we want to make this offer, whatever, all that happened. The Ottawa Senators, when they found out, rescinded every offer they'd made.
But they also didn't try and do anything underhanded to Shane Pinto in the meantime. And when it all came to light yesterday, they were very appreciative of Shane Pinto and how he handled it and welcomed him back to the organization once he's able to play again.
Yeah.
I thought how you thought in that
Right.
the Ottawa Senators came out very good at the other end of this and how they handled it with a player. And if I'm a player in the NHL, I look at that and say, oh, they got a good crew over there.
Now, this is not a suspension in a traditional way. This is a settlement, guys. And this is really important that you understand the difference. The reason that this suspension is retroactive to the start of the season is because all parties in here, including the PA, the player, the team, and NHL head office, agreed on this as the right outcome, and they've all signed non-disclosures. That's what a settlement is.
Interesting.
So you'll never know what actually happened, although we kind of know what happened. You'll never hear it from them. This is what happened. And the reason why it's so many, there's a lot of people giving you know, the gotcha moments on Twitter and stuff like that. Like, you know, and you kind of roll your eyes. What the NHL is doing here, when I tweeted this yesterday and I meant it, they didn't give you all the details because it doesn't suit them, right? They don't want you to give, but they're sending a message to the players that you have to be extremely careful with gambling and betting. We can't have a single problem with your betting accounts. There's nothing wrong with gambling. There's nothing wrong with betting on sports outside of your own. Nothing wrong with it.
See, isn't that what he did?
He didn't make the bets, though.
Bet anything.
He didn't make the bet.
He allowed someone to use his account, which you can't do.
So, Jesse, I think it was you yesterday. We're talking about there was an NFL player who lost like $10 million over a 7.
Calvin Ridley. Yeah.
So what happened there? Did he bet on football?
And he lost tens of millions of dollars.
Oh,
but in the NFL,
they are allowed to bet on sports that aren't.
Of course,
yes, but the NFL. So one of the big gripes with that everybody should have with the NHL is these rules are so vague, so that Gary can make any decision he wants.
That's right.
The NHL's gambling policy is just, hey, don't break any gambling rules, else we can suspend you, and that's it. So they just say, hey, if you break any rules, we can do whatever we want. The NFL, on the other end, has very distinct, if you do this, this happens. You can't bet at a facility. You can't bet on basketball or NHL or European soccer at an NFL facility, else you get this exact amount of games. And they can track all that and do all of that. The NHL's policy is just so vague, so Gary can, if somebody slips up, make whatever statement he wants at whatever point and just give people whatever blank punishment he decides in the moment. And the NHL should, if they were a real league, they would have distinct punishments for actions, but they don't.
Well, I mean, wouldn't it be a little lawyerese to make it vague so that...
Of course,
that's exactly his point.
Yeah, the problem is, that is what you're saying.
The problem we have here is the NHL does this all the time. And frankly... I don't actually think so. First off, Pinto broke his user agreement with whatever betting company he was working with. You are not allowed to have anybody else know your password, log into your account. It's in the terms and conditions, which nobody reads. But you and me and Jesse, we all have betting accounts with different outlets or whatever. If I were to log on to say, it doesn't matter. If I log into an account or Steve logs onto my account, I'm now breaking the rules. So I cannot log on. I can't have your password. I cannot log onto your account.
It's to prevent something like, I have an account. There's $1,000 on it. Adam has the password. You log on. I bet $1 million.
Yeah,
you have a really hot hand in roulette and you make 25. I go in there. I take the whole thing. Why not? It's my account. And then there's some sort of big dispute.
Well,
with
it's
you,
also,
and then,
but Steve, it's also if I bet $1 million of your dollars
or
and
that
lose it.
Oh yeah. Well, then there's the opposite end of it. I have $1 million in there, and
which by the way you can't do on sportsbooks. They're never going to let you.
It's
do
also against the law for somebody else to go place the bet with your money on the account. Like if like gambling is legal in Ontario and I'm placing bets for somebody in Nebraska where it's not legal, I'm doing it for them. That's illegal. That is an illegal activity.
So I thought this was a matter of he did something that was legal, but it breached his contract. But it sounds like he did something that breached his contract and was also illegal.
Yeah, what he did is against the sportsbook's rules. You're not allowed to have somebody else log into your account and place bets with your account. That's against the rules.
Right. That's why this, I think that's part of, and it's not an exact similarity, but the Rick Tocchet situation years ago with Janet Gretzky and a few of the other the other people. There was some.
I know of it vaguely.
There was
running.
Again, it's having a third party bet on your behalf that can be a problem, right? That's part of, in certain jurisdictions, it's a problem. Listen, every law in every state and every province is different.
Yes.
So it's very, very hard to come at this. Like Ontario law says this, but New York state law says something completely different, right? So all that is to say, to me, the NHL did not want you to find out the full details of this. But I also think this is the NHL flexing its muscle. What's interesting about this situation for me is that it's 41 games. Because at the heart of this all that Shane Pinto did was break a user agreement with an NHL partner gambling app. That's it. How is that worth 41 games? And what projection does the NHL want to give you? And just give me a sec here, because I want to give you what is the NHL trying to send a message to its players about? A, watch your ass with gambling. I don't want any bullshit, right? And I don't blame them for that. 100% I would get that. 100% you want to. The other thing is that I think the NHL has had some pretty rough reversals lately, and I think they're trying to send a message. The PA...
Well, Dreger kept saying he thought it was going to be more.
Well, yeah, and that's not what I've heard.
Interesting.
The PA won a big battle with Babcock. Okay.
Yes.
They won a big battle with Pride Tape. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yep.
And the interesting part of this was that the PA is not going to appeal. And my question is why? Is 41 games for this crime fair? Doesn't feel like it. And it feels like, to me...
Crime within the CBA.
100%.
Not like...
Yeah,
crime.
yeah, crime within the CBA. I'm using
go to
crime
jail.
as a thing.
You can go to jail for crime.
Yeah, 100%. Is this infraction, better termination?
There you go.
Is this infraction worth 41 games? No. Objectively, it's not. So what message is the NHL trying to send here? We know that Marty Walsh and the PA have been far more engaged than Don Fear and the PA ever were. Marty Walsh, by all accounts, has been doing a really great job.
It sounds like by doing a really great job, he has simply been doing his job.
Bingo.
Donald Fear was useless.
But why was Marty Walsh brought in, guys? What was his mandate?
My bar is so low for the head of the NHLPA, so to come in and be the voice of the players.
Okay, but the mandate, beyond that simple job description, is twofold, right?
Okay.
No more lockouts, right?
Oh.
Don't want any more lockouts.
Please.
No more lockouts. No more strikes, hopefully.
Yeah.
Number two, especially for the star players that are not really engaged in the PA, that ignore the PA, the only thing that they give a shit about is what?
Money?
Olympics.
Oh, Olympics.
World Cup. Those things. And I am, whenever head office is involved, I'm going to be a little suspicious. And maybe this is me with a tinfoil hat. But I do find it funny.
It fits you well.
That the PA, well, it's the only hat that fits me. My head's huge. I do find it funny that the PA is not appealing this or signed this at 41 games for really an infraction that from the outset doesn't seem that bad. It's an infraction. It's suspendable. 41 games?
41 games when you consider, like, Evander Kane got, 20 games? 21 games for breaking COVID protocol. You'll get... We just saw Rasmus Anderson jump into a player's brain.
4 games, and that was suspension.
It's a 4-game suspension that was appealed, and it was also the biggest suspension in over a year.
Right.
And it was upheld.
So this is more than...
What's
10 times worse than an illegal check to the head.
And what's at stake for the NHL? Their brand. What Shane Pinto did inadvertently by being a knucklehead, let's be honest, it's a knucklehead move.
Yeah.
He put the NHL's brand at risk. Because instantly when people say gambling in hockey or gambling in sports, they're going, did he bet on his own games? It's the first question out of everybody's mouth. So even the smell of that, the NHL is going to be all over it. Mm-hmm. And I think the PA knows that this is way too much. This is an overreaction for what this was. It was a knucklehead move. 20 games? Yeah, I think so. I think that's fair. Mm-hmm. But I think they're sending a message of, listen, you can't do this. And also, PA, you're not going to appeal this, because if you want to go to the Olympics, if you want to do these things, you are absolutely not going to appeal this suspension. There's no reason that the PA should have allowed for this to be 41 games. No way. That's my biggest gripe with this.
It's really difficult to have a passionate opinion about this without knowing everything, right?
And you'll never know everything because they've signed agreements.
Exactly. It doesn't pass the smell test. Something is weird. It's weird how little anyone involved has put up a fight.
Isn't it?
Like Pinto, no fight whatsoever. He's like, yep, whoops. What do you mean, whoops? He was supposed to sign something like a $2.5 million deal this year. 2.2. He lost $1.1 million and it's fine? Then, on top of that, he's going to have to accept his qualifying offer, which was what? Or was that the 2.2?
Yeah, no, that was the one they were trying to make room on the cap for before training camp, before all this was.
What is the deal? Do you know?
So they offered him, I think they're going to end up around the $1 million range. It's going to be there.
That's a lot.
So I'm also
That's
confused.
all big reduction.
Yeah.
I'm also confused as to whether or not he is eligible to play this season.
He is.
So because if he didn't have a contract signed by December 1st, then he would be ineligible.
That does not apply for him. He is not.
Oh, that's
He is
right.
not a regular RFA. He is a 10.2 bracket C RFA in that he is not eligible to be offer sheeted. So the December 1st deadline does not apply to him at all.
So this
he can
is
sign
not
at any time and play.
This is not the same situation as Nylander with the Leafs,
No.
where he did
Completely
have to
different.
sign by a certain day.
No.
Completely different. Interesting. So, game 42, he dresses for the Sens, in theory?
Yeah, against the Philadelphia Flyers in January. Yeah, that's the game he's eligible to come back to because the suspension is retroactive to game 1, so you can just count the games. They play the Flyers in January, and that's the game he can come back and play.
And he and his representation and the NHLPA are all just like, cool.
This is what I'm saying. It's a saying that I love, and it's not always true, but the truth has a ring to it. So if something doesn't seem right,
I love that.
And the qualifying offer, I just want to get it right, $874,000.
So he's
Okay.
losing over $1.5 million.
easily. Yeah.
Don't make me do the math.
I think they might give him the mill. I don't know if they'll bump him up for all this.
No,
but
they're gonna make him
probably
accept-
What for?
874.
What for?
Why would
Yeah.
you? Now you can go make a trade deadline pickup, right? Like, listen, I just want to say, we don't know the whole story. We never will. But there's a reason why. There's several reasons at work why this is big. And it has, again, I think number one is you don't want that trademark shield NHL. They don't want a Pete Rose situation, right? Where, you've got...
You don't want the question, the integrity of the game.
Yeah.
Bingo.
Tim
and I
Donaghy.
don't blame them. They have to do that.
Of course.
But 20 games is enough to send that message to not only Pinto, but the entire league. 41 says to me something else at play, not on Pinto's part, but I think the NHL has had some serious reversals in the last 2 months, and the PA looks amazing in public opinion.
Yes.
And I think the NHL is saying, we're still in charge here. That's what it seems like to me.
Gary Bettman has done a masterful job in keeping the entire NHL rulebook and the CBA extremely vague. So when things happen, he gets to do whatever he wants. And I don't like it.
What I love about this, Jesse, is that, all players are entitled to like an adjudication, and the adjudication is with Gary.
Yeah.
So the NHL suspends you. So what's your recourse? If you're Rasmus Anderson, well, you get to talk to the guy that hired the guy that suspended you.
Unless it's
cool.
over a certain amount of games.
Yes.
Then they have to go to the third party.
Yes.
But
then you got to sit out and wait until that adjudication or that arbitration happens.
Right. But because this was under 5 games or whatever, Gary gets to just make the decision that the guy he hired made the decision, and he's going to say, yeah.
Well, and also, there was part of me where I was like, oh, okay, this statement is really good from Gary Bettman when it came to why he upheld the Rasmus Anderson suspension. But, also... That's a fan. That's a fan making that decision.
What do you mean?
Gary Bettman doesn't have a hockey acumen. And it'd be like me being like, yeah, no, that sounds about right.
I think though with Gary,
He's a guy in
He came from the NBA, if we're going that far back.
Yeah, he has
He's a basketball guy.
he has expertise, and it's not in how safe or dangerous a hit is.
his expertise is legalese.
Yeah.
So he looks at the way it's written down and he goes, well, that's the way it's written down. So that's the way we're going to do it. And he writes it too. So he gets to interpret his own
Should
rule.
that be the guy? I don't know if that should be the guy.
You know, Steve, you might have found a flaw in the system.
Yeah, I think I did.
Which goes to my point of,
I don't know if that should be the guy.
it goes to my point of Gary is saying, I'm the boss.
Yeah.
Don't fuck with me, PA. Don't fuck with me, players.
I think there's people right now, like Steve, isn't that the pot calling the kettle black? Every day I wake up and I can't believe my life.
What are you talking about?
Well, I never played hockey.
Oh,
This is
I'm
my
sorry.
life.
I don't. I've never understood that argument. You had to have played to understand hockey, because some of the fucking worst coaches, GMs, and on-air analysts I've ever seen are former players. Horrendous, horrific. It's so funny to me. It's the one argument people have, and it's the one thing I always say. Okay, well, Mike Milbury exists. He did all three. He played, he GM'd, and he was on the air, and he was bad at all of them. Although he's extremely charismatic.
That is why I will always, in the bottom of my heart, love Colby Armstrong. Because when we were, there's this thing called the Lotus Lounge at Sportsnet, and we would sit there and, in between needing to be in studio, we would sit there and there's a bunch of TVs and we would watch all the games. And he would look over to me and earnestly ask me what I thought about players. And earnestly, how do you think this game is going? And every time, I would pause, what do you care? Because you're Colby Armstrong. You played in the NHL. Why do you want to know my opinion? And we would talk shop and shoot the shit, and he'd be like, yeah, here's where I agree with you, and here's where here's where I think you might have missed the mark. But he agreed with me 80% of the time. It gave me a real confidence boost.
I think the point is that you can learn something without actually doing it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
So you know what? Gary should be able to make these calls.
You can learn
Team
rocket science.
Gary.
You can learn rocket science without going to space.
Holy shit.
You know what I'm saying? It's not all those guys that go to space are brilliant scientists.
We still need to do
I don't know if
we need
that's
to do
the same thing.
A big show.
It's the same, Jesse, and it matters just as
Is
much.
rocket science only space travel?
Yes. Yes, because I said it into a podcast.
It would be weird if someone was trying to make a light comparison. Let's take everything 100% literally. Thank you, Reddit, Jesse.
I'm Adam Wild, and you know what? This is a lot like the Egyptian army.
It is. Sure is. Fell apart. Just saying. So all this is to say, Shane Pinto, 41 games for being a knucklehead. The suspension seems too long because it is. And now I think players are probably looking at their betting accounts going, I hope no one else has my password, and I would change it this morning. And I don't fault the NHL at all for protecting their brand. Gambling is a very sticky thing. It has to exist. It will always exist. Better that it be legalized and exist than not. But for the NHL, they have to protect the integrity of their game. 41 games is all.
I saw some people isn't it hypocritical because they advertise it and they have it on the helmet? No. It's anything. There are rules to it, and he broke the rules.
Yeah.
There was a lot of gotcha tweets yesterday, and I was like, okay.
Yeah,
Back it off.
There were a lot of arguments that fell apart if you literally, you just blow on it a little, and there's rules.
Listen,
man.
you don't have to be a rocket scientist to go to space.
There you go.
Okay.
You pull me
Better
over,
than that.
You pull me over. I got a 6-pack in my lap. I'm over 19. What's the fucking problem? No, man. There's rules.
Yeah.
There's rules.
Yeah, if you drink and drive, no one's like, you know what? All those beer sponsorships, they're done.
Yeah.
Gotcha. You guys advertise beer, but your employees drink and drive.
I don't know.
Like,
man.
what?
No, there's rules.
There's rules, and you have to
rules,
follow
and
them.
he broke them.
You have to follow the rules. Yeah. You have to. So anyway, it's sort of an odd end to the Shane Pinto saga because I guess that's over.
Wow, it's unbelievable.
It is.
The last month of Pinto.
Yeah.
Who could have called this? No one would have ever seen this coming.
No. Well, and also for obvious reasons with what's going on in the NHL and pending stories, you don't want it out there there's a big Shane Pinto story coming.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, because that's instantly where people's heads go because of the Hockey Canada stuff that's yet to drop.
I mean, I don't know. You hear someone is about to get a big suspension and it's not hockey related, and I don't know. You're the world is your oyster. Imaginations run wild. You have no idea what that is. So the fact that we knew nothing, here's everything.
Yeah.
And here's all we're going to tell you.
Mm-hmm.
They handled it as well as they could have.
So I do want to talk about the Leafs and Star as well, because Ken Reid is up next, and it's
Yes,
a great
it is.
interview, and it's so much fun. But I do want to quickly talk about a couple things with the Leafs. First off, I wanted to start by saying, and we probably don't have a lot of time for this, if you look at the Stars roster, such a great roster. So before the game, I'm talking to Natalie about it. I'm like, see how can you believe even Mason Marchment, that guy can score goals, and he scored last night. I'm like, he's playing fourth line. What the hell is this?
Oh, I know. That team, I watched them lose. I watched them lose a game last night, and I spent the whole game going, God, they're so good.
And
God, they're so good.
The one thing I would say is, just like the Rangers starting Jonathan Quick against the Oilers, Scott Wedgwood against the Leafs, he's got good backup numbers.
He's been good. I've had no problem with Scott Wedgwood this season.
No, he's good. I wonder if that was a sports science decision, because they don't play until Monday. Mm-hmm. So Jake Ottinger, who has had lots of injury issues, even though he's one of the best goalies in the league when he's not injured, he's going to get like a week off in between games. So
I also, every time the Leafs go to Dallas, and there's a couple arenas that are like this, I feel bad for whoever's sitting off as the goalie because they just sit by themselves.
Yeah.
Like separate from the bench. They're like in the corner. It's like, oh, this is great. This is so much fun. Like, can you imagine how much shit they take from fans and stuff?
Oh, I didn't even think of that. I was going to say,
How is that allowed in today's NHL? I'd be like, hey, arena, take 2 of your chairs out, you cheap bastard, and extend the bench so that the goalie can sit on the bench with the players.
Like, why can't the goalie sit in the tunnel?
100%. No, but they just sit up like with like a family next to them.
Yeah.
Like strange.
So I was looking for the quote from Petey Debu. He said, a priority since day one. It's maintenance for Jake Ottinger is why he didn't start. And Jake Ottinger last season, like to no fault of his own, he ran out of gas by the time the playoffs ran around.
He was not great.
He was not great in the playoffs because he played a lot of games during the regular season. So I think this season, as Petey Debo is talking, like it's maintenance is one of their priorities for Ottinger this season.
Catch on.
I'm trying to make it a thing.
I kind of like it.
I don't know if it's going to happen.
It's going to catch on.
To that point, I wish the Leafs had been able to have that conversation with Freddie Anderson back in the day when he was at his best with the Leafs. Because they just never freaking did. And every time the playoffs came around, you could tell he was gassed. You could tell.
Don't play the player. It's still ultimately the team's...
And the Leafs deferred to the player a little too much, I think, back then. I think they did right by the player too often.
It goes back to like you never played in the NHL. Yeah, every NHL player who's ever played in the NHL would tell you, I'm never going to sit out unless somebody tells me to sit out or I got like a broken leg. And even then, I'm going to try and play on it because it's the playoffs. So it's up to the coaching staff and the medical team to say, you're taking a maintenance day, Mr. Ottinger, and we're playing Scotty Wedgwood.
There was a Leafs-Panthers game a few years ago. Al Montoya, I think it was, tore his groin. But because Luongo had already left the game, he went to like hospital or something for like, I want to say like dehydration. And they wouldn't go to their emergency goalie because it was still a winnable game for Florida. Little did they know they would have been fine. But Montoya finished the game. He like played an entire period with an injury that ended up keeping him out like a month. Mm-hmm. Like these guys are nuts.
You have to tell them. You have to order them to do this and not give them an option. Freddie Anderson should have definitely played less games.
Don't expect them to be, and I hate to use this word, but like mature enough to say I can't do it. And they didn't get to the NHL saying I can't do it. So that's totally anathema to then. Look at Giordano. He's played great, and he was great last night.
Hey,
you cannot play him every game this year.
Let's invent a player. Okay, we have to start with he's 40 years old. Okay? Now, what should he do? Should he dive in front of every shot? No, that's probably bad, right? We don't want him to do... Oh, too bad. That's exactly what he does. Dives in front of every fucking shot.
And wants to play 20 minutes a night. Mm-hmm. And who can blame him? He won the Norris. Like, I can't blame him.
Yeah, when was that?
5 years ago.
Was it recent?
No.
Yeah, like,
he was old when he won the Norris.
He was old when he won the Norris.
Like, people are like, I can't believe what he's doing at 35. He's now 40. Like,
that dude does like kick saves in the slot. And like, listen, I'm not going to tell Mark Giordano how to block shots, but I'm positive they don't teach you to expose your inner ankle when blocking shots.
Guy wants to win.
Mike Johnston on the broadcast was talking about how this offseason he lost weight because he wants to... Giordano lost weight this offseason. Like it's a rare thing to do when you're at this age to change your offseason routine. Like usually by like 30, you're in there. And this guy's a 40-year-old who's like, you know what? I'm going to get a little lighter so I can play a little more and keep this thing going.
I want to know
that's unbelievable mentality.
I wonder if he's got the same guy that Spezza had. Because that guy extended his career.
I imagine he does. Spezza and Thornton.
Oh, they had the same guy?
I heard a story. Spezza and Thornton were trying to reason with this player. I'm not going to say who the player was. You need to work out with this guy. You need to work out with this guy. And they wouldn't. The player refused, and they ended up retiring like 2 or 3 years later.
Wow.
They had so much more gas in the tank.
Now, I want to ask you guys this. I've asked you 4 or 5 times already. How long before Joseph Woll is the starter?
He is the starter currently. The starter.
Justin Fisher put out a tweet yesterday, and I thought it was interesting. He's like, it's great that Woll's doing well, but you got to put Sammy in on Saturday. And the reason for that is that they are. He's like, the reason for that is you need both goalies going. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. From the beginning of the season, like Sammy got, I think, 4 of the first 5 starts. And I thought that was weird. I know they wanted to get him going. I'm sure that was it because he didn't have a great start. But I looked at Wool, Sammy, and the idea that Wool could take a step here. I thought it was going to be a tandem from the get-go. Like, I mean, through the first 5 games, one guy's going to have 3, the other's going to have 2. I would assume Sammy would get the 3. But they seem to have him as the clear-cut starter. Mm-hmm. And Wool is one of the first goalies to win the starting job from the bench. That's how bad Sammy was.
Yeah, he was.
The cherry on top is Wool comes in and he's bloody fantastic.
You almost want to put, at least through Sammy's games this year, you almost want to put a bungee cord between his jersey, and the net.
Oh, dude! Like he was
a little bit Mrazek-y.
You know what? Like Mrazek he has no idea where the posts.
Well, that's
are.
why you call it. That's why it's his brand.
Yeah, on a good night. So that is Mrazek's brand.
Yes.
Frederik Andersen, when he was good, I tell you what, on nights where Freddie Andersen was good, he looked a lot like how Joseph Woll looked last night.
Yeah.
He was the Terminator in net. He was a Wool. He had just very controlled, calm movements. Mm-hmm. When he didn't have it, holy shit, he was all over the ice. Jack Campbell was a little less methodical, a little more chaotic, but it got worse when he didn't have it together. Wool is ice. He's ice in there. Sammy is the complete opposite. He is a dog when the doorbell rings.
Did you know that
he's going apeshit at every puck?
You guys know that Ottinger and Wool are like really good friends?
No way.
I saw that on the broadcast. They were goalies on the U.S. World Junior.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes,
And he was saying, I guess Ottinger was saying last year in the playoffs he would watch Wool, and he's like, that's going to be his net soon. Mm-hmm. Oh. And he was great. Sorry, Jesse. I know you got something up
no,
there.
I was going to say, like, no matter how much we love Joseph Woll and Sammy's not playing well, this has got to be a relatively 50-50 split at the end of the season because Ilya Samsonov's career high starts as 44. Joseph Woll's total career starts as 15.
Yep.
Like, we're going to get to a point where they're both split in time. It's 50-50. No one's really the starter, and whoever's the hot hand gets to go into the playoffs. But they're going to end up a 43 whatever split, 45. You know, it's going to be relatively the same because, as we saw with Ottinger, you can't just overplay these young goalies.
Yeah, unless someone gets hurt.
Yeah.
I think you have to do a split. And even if someone were to get hurt, let's say, I don't know, Wool goes down, and then it's Sammy, Martin Jones. Like, even still, I think you need to find a way to get Sammy his rest. Or if it's Joseph Wool, Martin Jones.
Martin Jones can play 30 games.
He played. So wait, how many games did Sammy play last year?
42.
42. How many games did Martin Jones play? I bet it was more.
Martin Jones.
He had 28 wins.
Martin Jones, 48.
So Martin Jones played more NHL games with an 887. He played more games terribly than Ilya Samsonov last year. He was
playing with the what's cracking.
All right. But like Martin Jones for 82 decades in San Jose was a starting goaltender. Like,
he was bad for all of them.
No, he wasn't.
Most of them.
No, he wasn't.
Roll the game tape.
They were very good.
I don't think so.
They were very good Sharks teams, and if they need him in a pinch, he can start as many games as they need.
If you need a goalie to win a bunch of games and have the worst save percentage, if you need one of the least explainable goalies
careers, least explained
ever,
goalie careers ever.
So mean to
Martin Jones. Dude, he's got like 1980s Stanley Cup contender goalie stats in his career.
Yeah, he's got Darren Pang stats.
He goes everywhere he goes, he wins and lets pucks in.
In the 15-16 season, 65 games played, 918.
Oh,
That's a stupidly good season.
Yeah.
When was his last?
What about after that?
That was his peak.
What was his last season that was 901 or higher?
Well, we got
901 or higher.
17-18.
Now I know we had a 900 with the Flyers a few years ago, but like, ew.
Man, there's no drop off there.
No, he's consistently an 896 goalie.
918, 912, 915, 896, 896, 896, 900, 887. Holy shit. That is that cliff is that hill is vertical. Mm-hmm. That is
He's only played 2 games with Marlies this season.
That doesn't shock me. They haven't played that many games. I think their season.
Or are they giving all the? Is Petr Daddy getting all the games?
Petr Daddy? I think their season starts after the NHL.
Oh, okay. All right.
And
I've
they
been up on the
minor league goaltending is
Different.
We got
it's. I mean, guys will get healthy scratch because the AHL has fucking back-to-backs.
and the triple headers.
Oh my god.
Awful.
If we gotta call up Nick Barton and ask him how Martin Jones is looking.
Yes, we do.
Mitch Marner gets a big goal. It felt like his reaction to that was like, yeah, like he rung one off the post earlier.
Yes.
It felt like that was like,
That was maybe his best game of the season.
yeah.
He's pretty
Don't worry, I'm saving the best for last. Playoff Morgan Riley has started the season. 7.7 games.
Looks real good.
That feed from who I'm getting to next, William Nylander.
Oh, William Nylander. Took me a second. I'm like,
He and Tavares are both on 8-game point streaks to start the year.
with the empty netter. Let's go, JT.
7-game point
Yeah,
streaks.
they haven't
to
played
start.
8 games. Yeah.
Can you name the 3?
No, it's 8 games.
The 3 Leafs they are tied with at 7. Who are the 3 Leafs they're tied with at 7-game point streaks to start the season?
Oh, to start the season.
Yeah.
Oh, like all time.
All-time Leafs.
Oh, okay. Hap Day, Babe Die, and Matt Sundin.
You suck.
Go ahead.
What?
I'm going to say... I'm going to say Doug Gilmour because he had that ridiculous 92-93 and then they won 10 straight the next season.
Mm-hmm.
So Doug Gilmour, I think it's going to be someone really unexpected like Clark MacArthur.
That's funny.
And because I remember he started his Leaf tenure, I want to say he had goals in like 4 straight. And Philip Kessel.
So, one of them is Austin Matthews.
Oh, son of a...
Oh.
Another one is Doug Gilmour, 93-94.
Excellent.
And another one, and Jesse was joking, but he's right, Babe Die.
Fuck you, Steve Dangle! Making fun of my answers!
Babe Die. Babe Die in 1921-22. 102 years ago.
Jesse,
Let's go!
Jesse looked at me and said, "Babe, you should go die."
Now, there are 3 guys.
Damn.
If Nylander and Tavares score any points on Saturday, they are 3 guys who hold the record who they would tie. Okay?
Oh.
Longest season opening point streaks in franchise history. Who are they?
Ooh.
Nazem Kadri.
Interesting.
I'm going to say like 2013 Nazem
Okay.
Kadri.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was good. He was really good in the third line
So I already know him.
with loops.
Okay.
I'll shut up.
Like it's going to be someone stupid. Thomas Caberlet.
No.
And
Caberlet?
King of the ghost assist, Caberlet. He's always a secondary assist machine.
Yeah, that's
who else was on that 93-94 team? Mike Gardner? Question mark?
They had some good scorers on that team.
Yeah.
Jesse? Just name 3 guys.
JVR,
Okay. I like that. That's
yeah.
an interesting one.
Boreas Salming,
Also
Good one.
interesting.
and I don't know. Domi.
Hi, Domi.
So Jesse, you were closer on the era.
Yeah.
One of them is Landon McDonald. Who was one of the big 3 in the 70s, right? Frank Mahovlich, so 61, 62, and John Anderson in 82, 83. I'm surprised you guys
Why
didn't go
didn't we
more
go
80s,
80s?
like Rick Vive or anything. You know,
I'm not
Russ
too good with the 80s guys.
Well,
That's the thing.
it's a pretty forgettable team in the 80s, except for you love them, but it was pretty bad.
I know like the Cup Leafs
Yeah.
from like the 20s, and then there's
Babe
like a
Die.
The 70s?
Fucking Babe Die.
The 70s are a complete blind spot in my life.
Yeah, I like the 70s one. The 80s Leafs are tough for me. They had what's really tough is the Leafs could have had Vinny Domfus, Matt Sundin, and Doug Gilmour on the same fucking team, but they had to trade Vinny Domfus for Grant Fuhr, who then they then traded because Felix Potvin came out of
Was great. The best goalie ever.
Okay, so this is the other thing. What is the longest season starting point streak by any player? How many games?
So it's probably Mario.
Oh. Yeah, it would have to be Mario.
Okay.
Or I don't know.
Mario 92-93. Stupidest
Something like
season
that.
anyone has ever had.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's not Mario, it's Wayne. And it's
going to be one or the other.
51 games.
Holy shit.
All the way off.
Remember, because he had 50 goals in 37 games. It was that year.
Go from A to B and B to A and fuck off the entire way.
Don't you hate him? Don't you hate him?
God.
It's crazy. And Bertuzzi he scored the first power play goal against Dallas this year. They were 17 for 17 beforehand.
Get wrecked.
Which is crazy.
Yeah.
And then, so those were kind of the things that I sort of wanted to hit with that.
Meant to
Kind of nuts,
yeah.
right? And then it looks like Jake McCabe was injured on the first shift. He played like 10 seconds.
Yeah.
I'm thinking it's looking like William Lagesson might be called up.
Okay.
Maybe. So, because they need, that's a guy that they signed, they thought to be a tweener. Or at least to be more on the NHL roster, so he might be making his debut on Saturday.
Yesterday in the LFR, I said either him or Benoit, because they had Benoit with them, and he's more like Jake McCabe than Lagesson is.
They haven't announced anything yet, so we'll see.
Interesting.
Yeah, and Benoit hasn't played this season. I saw people are just double checking there, and everybody was like, "Can you insert a guy who hasn't played it?"
That would sure seem to be a problem.
At least Legisson's like warm, you know.
Yeah.
Benoit hasn't had a game on ice.
Yeah. So
Robertson, he's a great defenseman.
couple of things before we get to the Ken Reid
That's a
interview, which is
throwback.
spectacular. The Avs and Bruins both lost. The Bruins lost to the Ducks in overtime.
Yeah.
Why?
How it always
Did
works.
you see the game before that? The Ducks benched Zegras.
Oh, I didn't see that.
Yeah, so they benched him, and then this game he comes out, plays like 22 minutes, looks good, and I forget who got the OT winner. But no, it was like McTavish.
Yeah, it was Mason McTavish.
Yeah, I think it was McTavish.
Vetrano got one the other night.
But just one of the Ducks.
That was the one we picked. And then the Avs lost to the Pens, and the Pens who can't keep a goal out, and Tristan Jarry got the shutout.
He's one of the most mystifying goalies.
So there is one unbeaten team in the NHL, and it's the Golden Knights. Now, here's my question to you.
They're never going to lose.
If you're the Boston Bruins, you're 6-0-1. If you're the Colorado Avalanche, you're 6-1-0. So you do have an extra point on the Avs. Does the OTL in your mind count as a loss, or are you still like, there's 82 games?
There's an L at the end of it.
It's now a point streak. You could trick yourself if you lose in the shootout, but no, someone put the puck in your net during play, like with defending players on the ice. No, you lost.
Yeah, and you started this by calling it an unbeaten streak. Now they have been beaten. So their streak is now a lesser streak, which is the point streak.
Right.
So they're ass.
Bunch of losers.
I will take it.
Yeah, I would take that point streak any day. So we're going to talk to Ken Reid now about
also the before you go on that, we should mention the decertification, whatever they're calling the draft thing.
Decentralization.
Decentralized.
So yeah, the owners apparently overwhelmingly voted in favor of decentralizing the draft.
26-6 is the rumored vote.
Wow.
Listen, I don't give a shit what they do. Just make the TV product good. And I know the media are complaining, and it's funny. Somebody I follow was like, why is the media complaining? You know you can still go, right?
It's not the same.
It's probably not the same because a lot of the GMs and shit won't be there. But also, here's what they don't want to tell you is the corporations that own the media companies aren't going to spend the money to send them. Yeah. That's what they're upset about. And I don't blame them because you can't get drunk with the homies, as Dom said.
You know what? Dom's right.
He's right.
He's absolutely. You can't not just drunk with the homies. Drunk with the homies on your company's dime.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss seeing Julian McKenzie up till 4 a.m. after I wake up at like 9 and I get there's a bunch of unread text messages that are like, Julian was just at every bar at all times.
Yeah. It is funny going there and being like, oh, you shouldn't be out. Oh, I shouldn't be out. Oh, none of us should be out.
Yeah. I don't know where you guys get the energy. I just go to bed.
Well, I guess we could do this on Monday if we really want.
Oh, yeah.
What are your children going as Halloween?
A fireman.
Oh, yeah? Oh,
Leo is a fireman, and it's great because it's a costume with a built-in coat.
Everly's going as Elsa. And we got her an Elsa costume, and my mom got her an Elsa costume. So
He's going as 2 Elsas.
well, so we have an Elsa costume for school, and we know it's going to get shredded, right?
That's actually low-key very smart.
and then we're going to use the other one at night for the thing.
Do we get to dress up on Monday because Halloween's on Tuesday?
I think so, yeah. Also, Drew and Stu did a candy draft, so we're gonna steal that idea. We're doing a Halloween candy draft.
I am ready
on Monday.
to fist fight you guys.
That's just the old Tim and Sid bit.
Oh,
They do that, like,
are you taking shots at Drew? You
No, I'm saying it's very unoriginal.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. No,
I'm not taking any shots. I'm just saying it's been done.
yeah, notably historically unsuccessful show, Tim and Sid.
Yeah.
No one
Yeah,
ever
just-
knew about it or watched it. No, I'm setting my phone to steal and taking that bit.
Jesse.
Oh, yeah, no, cool.
The one thing Jesse did at Virgin
New
Radio once,
ideas.
which was killer, is what is the best color of chocolate or like candy box? Because there's the red, there's the black, there's the yellow, and there's the orange.
We brought that to this too.
so good.
Yeah.
So good.
You can still find that. That's a clip on our YouTube channel.
Oh, it's a good one. It's a good one.
We can
All
bring
right.
that back. We
I
can
wonder
do
if
that
my
Monday.
palette has changed.
All right, so listen, have a great weekend. Bring Kenny on. Let's talk to Ken because this book is amazing. And of course, Ken Reid can spin a yarn. He's from the East Coast. The book is called Woman and Me. Sorry, no, that's Britney Spears, also released the same day. The book is called Ken Reid's Hometown Hockey Heroes.
There you go.
Ken Reid back on the STP.
Here we go. Quick start. I'm in office.
That's good, buddy. All right, so listen, thank you for coming over. Ken, it's so great to have you back in person.
Good to be here. Good to be here. Talking a little hockey. And listen,
We need you to get a little closer to the mic. They're a little sensy.
it's good to be here. It's good to be here. Good to talk a little hockey. And listen, how's Ryan Reeves going, boys? How you liking my style of hockey?
I don't know, man. His XG is really fallen.
I don't know what that is, but
What do you
I
think
like-
about Ryan Reeves' expected goals, Ken?
expected goals. Well, I don't think he was brought here for that. I think Ryan Reeves will make everybody else just a little bit bigger. I heard you guys weren't exactly impressed with him against Corey Perry. I was listening to that.
Yeah.
But it's a long season. He's here to help get you through the season, make sure you're healthy, make sure you're protected, and make a little room, right, Dangle? We all room.
I do have to say, we were the video of Steve criticizing Reeves went viral, but the episode before we had been praising him.
You had been. I heard that one.
So I do want to say, there was a lot of people who were really upset with Steve about that.
Well,
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of games.
So-
there's 82 games.
100%.
What I would like to know is, do you guys feel like you've come to the dark side, like to my side of looking at things?
I think there's a little bit of that. I don't think it's fully, but I do think there's a little bit of, okay, we can use these hands. We would be coming up the center, I think, right? Because
Inside every millennial is a fist fight war between a boomer and a Gen Z.
Oh, wow.
And that is what I experience on a daily basis.
Does that mean I'm a boomer? I thought I was Gen X.
No, you're Gen X, man.
No, you're Gen
Gen
X.
X, yeah.
Which is a cool generation, man.
Well, yeah, we didn't have safe space.
No. Well, inside every Gen X is a battle between a boomer and a millennial, which is just called dinner.
Yeah, and clearly the boomer's winning in me.
Yes.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. People call me boomer. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
There
Well,
Yeah.
I think what it is with the Leafs is that we have seen the results of teams that punked them. You watched Boston. They always had a good team. So when the Leafs lose to Boston, it sucks. It's painful, and the way they lost was always spectacular. But at least you knew Boston was a good team. For me, one of the turning points was Columbus. That Columbus play-in, remember, in 2020.
Yep.
And then Montreal after that,
Yep.
where, Deneau basically, once Tavares is out, Deneau isolates on Matthews, shuts him down, and then there's nothing else. And there isn't the fight back. I mean, Spezza fought. That was cool.
But that's not what he's there for, right?
Well,
It's wrong
no,
guy to be doing it.
100%.
Right. Yep.
So I'm starting to see the light a little
It's a marathon, not a sprint, the regular season. Reeves will pay off in ways that cannot be quantified by the calculator nerd people, and that's why he wasn't here last year. Brad Treliving, big fan. Got to admit, big fan. I love what he's doing. I think the Reeves thing is genius. I think it's going to pay off slowly. It's almost like you don't see a guy necessarily win a marathon by running the marathon, but at the end he can win the marathon. You know what I'm saying?
Their front office got bigger too. Room
Yeah.
in the office. He's like 6'4".
Yeah, he is. He played in the East Coast League. He's been there. He knows what it's like.
Yeah.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, he did. In the Gong Show.
I'm going to look that up
years.
here. What did
Like the
Brad-
Gong Show years. when
Is
it
he
was
in your
fun.
book?
No. So the book, it's guys that, I kind of stayed away from the pros. I wanted guys that were just local legends that the common hockey fan wouldn't know about.
He played for the Columbus Chill.
The Columbus
in
Chill.
91-92. He had 29 points in 49 games and 170 penalty minutes. Followed that up the next year with the Columbus Chill, 56 games, 234 penalty minutes.
He played in the minors with Kevin Shoveldayoff and Jarmo Kekalainen.
Wow.
There you go. Now I want to see if there's a heavyweight name here I recognize that he played with. Now Winston-Salem 90-91. That's when the East Coast League was like 6 teams, right?
Oh, he got
Keith
a Gretzky.
He's got Keith Gretzky on there, but let's focus on the Pims, shall we? Any names?
This is your next book, by the way. We're writing it right now. Hockey DB Surfing with Henry.
This team, Winston-Salem, in 90-91, that might have been the cleanest team in East Coast Hockey League history, but I'm looking at their numbers. That is a splendidly clean team. Columbus Chill, they got to have somebody there.
Who's Jason Christie with 218
Look at this guy,
points?
Mark Cipriano, 333. Brad had 170. That's solid.
Penalty minutes?
Pims, yeah. That's not bad. Look at this guy. Oh, Barry Dreger, 362. Joey Middlestead, 296. That's the kind of team I'm talking about. See, I'd pay to watch them play.
See, Jeff Merrick would know all of these players.
Yes, he would. Yes, he absolutely
Yes,
would.
and he would have like an anecdote about
Yeah, I talked to him at blah, 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 and you'd be like, wow, Jeff, that's amazing.
I got
do that.
Jeff. I got Jeff on a player in my book that he didn't know that I thought he would, because most of the guys in my book didn't play pro. But one guy, Jeff's good buddy Troy Smith, who coached in the OHL, he's like, you got to do a story on Paul Palillo in your book, because the book's about local legends, right?
Paul
Guys who
Palillo.
didn't make it. So I go, Paul Palillo, and Jeff's like, goes, Paul Palillo. I look up Paul Palillo. So Paul Palillo, this is an awesome story. They go, if you go into a Tim Hortons in Brantford, the old timers will still talk about Gretzky, but they'll talk about Paul Palillo as well. I'm like, what? Paul Palillo? Paul Palillo. Like, it brings on this life of its own. So Troy starts telling me about Paul Palillo. His dad tells me about Paul Palillo. Paul Palillo grows up in Brantford, Ontario. Late bloomer. Grows up with Keith. Worships Wayne in the way that I do. He's got the Gretzky Jofa. He wants the Titan stick, the Daou skates, the big Jofa gloves up to his elbow. Paul Palillo's a late bloomer, doesn't play major junior. Goes and plays, I want to say Michigan State. Gets drafted in what was known as the supplemental draft, right? This was a draft for NCAA guys, aside from the NHL draft. He's taken by the Pittsburgh Penguins. Gets out of college. The Penguins have new management. They say, Paul, we'd like you to come try out. He goes, well, I want a contract or something. They go, no, we're not going to give you a contract. Paul Palillo shows me the letter he wrote to the Pittsburgh Penguins going, thanks, but no thanks. I'm going to the Italian League. Lights it up in Italy. Lights it up in Italy. The Penguins want him back. He's like, you know what? I'm cool here. Then they start a team in Brantford called the Brantford Smoke in the Colonial League that Ron McLean used to rev in. Now, if you guys think the East Coast League was tough, the Colonial League in the 90s, it was like roller derby, WrestleMania, UFC, all combined into one. And Paul Palillo chap goes back to Brantford, and he becomes the Wayne Gretzky of the Colonial League. Look up Paul Palillo.
Okay, how do you spell Palillo?
Polillo.
And this is in the book.
This is in the book. Paul's in the book. And Paul worships Wayne. He wants to be like Wayne. Look at these numbers.
Sorry, you go ahead.
Here we go. Brantford Smoke.
By the way, what a name. Brantford Smoke.
Yep. Sorry, he went to Western University. By the way, the way they came up with the Brantford Smoke was a bunch of old guys who were putting the team together. One of them was smoking a cigar. He's like, what are we going to call them? He takes a big puff. We should call them the Brantford Smoke.
You're joking.
I joke not.
The numbers, the points numbers he puts up. So let's start when he gets there. 112 points in 59 games. Then 93, 94, 141 and 64. And then 146, 186, 173, and 165. And then he fell off a little bit in the late 90s, 107 points.
Oh, bum.
So everyone's going, Paul Palillo, why don't you go climb up the hockey ladder? And he goes, you know what? My dad owns a nice company in town. I got a good life. I got a wife. And then he gets one call from the International League. He goes up for a game. They play him 4 shifts. He's like, you know what? I don't want to ride. I don't want to. I'm living in Brantford. That's cool. Paul Palillo, stud in Brantford, super nice guy. His son sent me some beauty pictures of him. There's a picture of him in the book. You guys are going to love this because remember, this guy grows up loving Wayne Gretzky, and he kind of becomes, in a way, his own kind of Gretzky of his own town, even though Gretzky's in his hometown. And he told me in the book, you know what? I still dream of being friends with Wayne. He still has those dreams. And you guys are going to love the picture of him because when I get to it, you're going to be like, oh, my goodness.
By the way, when you Google Paul Palillo
Yeah.
and you search the image search, Ken Reid your hometown hockey heroes comes up in like the third rung of pictures.
Oh, perfect.
So that's pretty
Where's
cool.
the picture of Paul? Oh, it's in here somewhere.
Does the paperback not have pictures?
Oh, this is the arc. Okay.
Yeah, this is the ones you
This
gave
is the
us.
arc.
Oh.
Okay, if you get my bag there, I have copies of the real book.
Okay.
And I'll show you a picture of Paul.
So this is the
This
very
is the
super
advanced
special
reading copy.
The advanced.
If you were
look
a
at the advanced
hockey, if
copy.
you were a hockey card collector, this would be the one of 20, like more. That's how special you guys are.
Wow. We
Right?
all got one too.
Yeah.
Thanks, pal.
He didn't even make us share them.
Guys, how hockey am I? My bag comes from the Danny Galvin golf tournament, the former voice.
No one spins a yarn like Kenny.
There we go. All right, boys, here we go. Paul Palello, are we ready? Remember, worships Wayne Gretzky, grows up in Brantford, grew up with Keith,
Played with Keith. which is
played
cool.
with Keith, which is super cool. Was actually at this famous hockey party during the 87 Canada Cup where a bunch of the guys on the Soviet Union pulled up in their bus to Brantford and went to a barbecue in the Gretzky's backyard after a game at Cops Coliseum. And Paul was there. Igor Larionov gets the bus, and Paul's there with Keith Gretzky, and they're going, "Oh, this is pretty cool," you know? Okay.
Did he do his job at that party?
What, like bartender?
Get them all drunk.
Well, it was
So-
the
so that-
80s. They were going to get all. They were going to have a few beers
Yeah, I guess
regardless.
you're right.
It says on DB that he was drafted by the Pittsburgh Penguins?
Yeah, Penguins.
Yeah,
Yeah,
supplemental.
the supplemental.
Supplemental? Okay.
Supplemental.
In
He politely
1988.
told them
Wow.
no chance.
Oh wow, there he is, Paul
Yeah.
Palello, and he has the Gretzky helmet.
Yeah, look at that.
Look at that. Okay, here.
He actually does kind of look like
He looks
Wayne
like
Gretzky.
Wayne. Well, he modeled his game after Wayne.
I don't have my glasses on, so he looks like Wayne.
I know that I don't want to distract from the book because we want to talk about it, but you saw that the Wayne Gretzky has teamed up with Northland again, eh? For wooden sticks. He's got
Serious?
you can get 3 sticks for $99. And they're wooden Northland like original sticks.
Yeah.
You can
I'm
get your
watching
name on
my
it.
kids' game last night, and none of these kids can take a pass. You know why they can't take a pass?
Because the stick's too light.
Because they all got the 20 flex for the big
Yeah.
bar down rooster. Give me a stick that's stiff and wood, and you can accept a pass and go to the blue areas and tap it in.
The blue area.
Old school.
That's right.
Room.
School.
Okay,
I
your
still use
kid,
the Sherwood 50-30, as you know.
your kid for sure leads the league in PIMS, right?
He's a goalie.
So listen,
I'll be honest. He punched.
He's
a
Billy
kid-
Smith.
Yeah, he's Billy Smith. I actually sent Billy a text one night going, "You wouldn't believe what my kid did." And put it this way, he owns the blue paint. He's pretty good at protecting. Yeah.
A little bit of a slash to the back.
most
Yeah.
famous blocker in the entire league.
Well, they got one defenseman on their team. By the way, they're 10 years old. They got one. They got one defenseman on their team. He's like, "I love protected Jacoby." So it's like, no, it's 10-year-old hockey. They're very civil.
Does he wear like a modern goaltender's mask, or does he wear the Billy Smith helmet and cage from the 80s?
He wears the modern mask because I took him to his first tryout with this team last year. So we're taking it up a notch, and we show up with this team, and these kids are rifling pucks. And there's this one little guy. He's got a cannon on him. They're 9. Bang, bang, bang. My guy takes like 9 off the helmet. And the other goalie dad goes, "You should get your kid a new helmet." I go, "Why?" He goes, check your helmet out. And he's bending it like he's bending a Gretzky Jofa. And I'm like, wow, I am a cheap man. I will look, I'll be honest, I'll skimp on the pads, but I will protect my little man's brain. So we went and got a legit
Oh, that's
legit
nice.
helmet.
That's good.
Shout out Warrior, CCM.
Oh, there you go.
Can we talk about the jersey you're wearing?
Absolutely we can.
For those listening,
Dangle Nate.
can you explain what this blue Pinto, Mariners jersey is?
So this is awesome. This is a Pinto Mariners sweater from 1982-83 season. David Dort, number 7, played on the team with Teapot. Dana Johnson, Teapot, the inspiration for this book, was the hero of this team. So David Dort got wind I was making this book. He said, "You got to wear my Mariners sweater while you're touring." I was like, "No problem." So he lent it to me. And the thing was, I got it, and I said, "Dave, how did you get the smell of wine, dope, and cigarettes out of this sweater?" He said, it was laundered. It took 40 years of laundering because when you went to a Pinto Mariners game back in the day, boys, you walked into the Hector Arena in Pinto on a Saturday night. I had $2. It was $1 to get in, 50 cents for a program, 2 quarters for a pack of O-Pee-Chee, 2 packs of O-Pee-Chee. Then me and my buddies, Dave Clark, Mark Kroon, and my brother Peter, went and stood on the rail above the penalty box, and there was this haze above the ice. It was smoke. It was awesome. It reeked of rink fries. And the only rule for mom and dad, because we could go unsupervised. We're anywhere from 8 to 12 years old. We're unsupervised. The only rule was don't go down by the Zamboni because that's where they smoke the funny cigarettes and the bottles fly onto the ice. It was awesome. It
Wow.
was awesome.
Wow.
So we didn't go down by the Zamboni. We stood above the penalty box. If there's anybody out there listening for the Thorburn Mohawks, my brother did not spit on that guy in 1985. That almost caused a brawl. Thorburn wanted to fight my brother. He wasn't spitting on the players.
No,
It was awesome. Guys, there was no plexiglass. It was chicken wire at one end. Round 86, we got plexiglass. No boards, right? No boards. Sticks, bodies flying into the stands. About once every 2 weeks, there'd be an announcement. If Dr. Dan Reid is in the building, could he please report to the arena office? Dad would have to go fix somebody up in the office. He'd have his kit with him because we lived just up the hill from the rink. It was as pure as you can get, and it put this, I don't know, it just made me fall in love with hockey so much because I'd go watch the Mariners, I'd run home, I'd catch the first intermission with Coach's Corner. Because remember, back where I'm from, Hockey Night in Canada starts at 9 o'clock back then.
That's right.
So I'd watch the Mariners from 7:30 to 9:30, run up the hill, watch the end of Hockey Night in Canada. It was like, I don't want to say it was like the perfect childhood, but in my mind it was. And these guys who wore these jerseys, these sweaters, helped me fall in love with the game as much as a Gretzky or a Lafleur, and they're clearly embedded in my mind because 40 years later I got a book based on the star of this team, Teapot, who Dad used to say, money player and the softest hands east of Montreal.
Can you please, Jesse Blake, show Teapot on the screen so that this is...
And that mustache has been the same since the 80s.
Well, T can grow that. If there was a world mustache sprint growing competition, T would win. And that's T on my T-shirt. So Teapot's the best lobster fisherman in town. There he is with a couple 5-pounders. So he's like the Marlboro man of Pinto. So there he is with a couple 5-pounders, just hauling them in. Fishes with my buddy Chucky, and the boys all love him. And there's T back in his day paying for the Pinto Mariners. They won 4 straight Nova Scotia Junior C championships.
Really?
Oh, yeah. So what level is this?
Junior C.
Junior C.
So that's
okay.
That's what this book is about. It's not about guys who played in the NHL that you watch growing up or your hometown heroes. It's local guys who made it in their own way. Because if you're from a small town, there's stories, oh, he would have made it if. So I thought, why don't I twist it around and go, he did make it. He just made it a different way. Mm-hmm. So T and the Mariners won 4 in a row, Nova Scotia titles. And if you tell T you won 4 in a row, eh? Only thing the sweet one will say, he's known by a lot of names, Teapot, T the sweet one. Only thing he'll say, should have been 5.
Now tell me this. How do you find these people?
Okay, that was the beauty of this, right? Because when you drive to Brantford, it's welcome to Brantford, home of Wayne Gretzky. You drive to Cole Harbour, welcome to Cole Harbour, home of
Sidney Crosby.
These guys aren't on any hometown signs. Most of them are not on Hockey DB. Paul Palillo was one of the exceptions. So I actually used Twitter for good. I had this idea for the book, and I said, who's your hometown hero? Didn't make it to the NHL. So a lot of people would write back, Guy Lafleur, Wayne Gretzky, but then a lot of people actually got it and they knew what I was going for. And the first guy I called, a bunch of guys wrote, Bruce Campbell, New Waterford, Nova Scotia. So I look up Bruce Campbell, he's on Hockey DB, and he played some Junior A, and I called him, and it turns out, in typical Nova Scotia style, he once lived in the basement of my brother's midget coach because he played senior hockey for him a couple years before and played knee hockey with my buddies Johnny, Mike, and Andrew Sim. And he has a wonderful story. They have a rule. Now this is
he was a Cape Breton Oiler in the AHL.
So this is cool. So this guy plays Junior A in New Waterford in the Cape Breton Junior A League. He's nominated for Canadian Junior A Player of the Year. He loses to one of the Sutters. Okay.
Oh.
So that June, I forget which Sutter he lost to, goes in the draft. But before the draft, Bruce, who was 19 at the time, doesn't know anything. He's at the Centennial Cup to accept his award or the nomination. And the Winnipeg Jets go, you want to sign a tryout agreement with us? He's like, yeah, all right. So he just signs it. He's not getting a ton of cash. He just took himself out of the draft. He doesn't know this.
Oh.
So Jets go, look, Bruce, you're not ready for the NHL yet, but we'd like you to go to Bowling Green State. We got a full scholarship lined up for you. To play for Bowling Green. He goes, he's from Cape Breton. It's 1978. He doesn't know where Bowling Green is. No, I just want to play hockey. Goes back to Cape Breton, ends up going to play in the Newfoundland Senior League. Okay, Forbes Kennedy, one of the greatest tough guys of all time. I think you guys have seen that famous shift where Forbes gets like 68 penalty minutes.
Yeah.
Picks him up at his house. Forbes is driving from PEI to the tip of Cape Breton to take a ferry to Newfoundland. Picks Bruce up. Off they go to Newfoundland. Plays a couple years in the Newfoundland Senior League. He's lighting it up. The Quebec Nordiques go, You want to try out for us? Yeah, okay. Goes to Nordique's camp, does well. Gets sent down to Fredericton Express, American League. Lights it up. So to find this out, I have to research these old newspapers.
You can't even find stats from Fredericton.
It's not even there. So Bruce sends me these old newspaper clippings. I go into the archives of some papers, and Jacques Demers is pumping the tires of this guy. It's the 80s, okay? The Nordiques have Michel Goulet. They have the Stastnys. They don't need another sniper. Of course, what do they want? They want tough guys, so they send a couple of meatheads to Fredericton. Bruce is out of a gig again, goes back to Newfoundland, bumbles around senior hockey in Nova Scotia for a few years. Then the University College of Cape Breton starts a varsity hockey team. Okay, this is Canadian University. They go, Bruce, you want to play for us? He's like, I'm 28, 29 years old. I don't want to play university hockey. They go, come on, play for us. You can get your degree. And he's like, yeah, okay. So they sign him up to play. The rest of the Atlantic Canadian Conference freaks out, goes, you can't have a 28-year-old guy. So there's a rule known today as the Bruce Campbell rule that's still in existence. That's kind of there because they let him play. And he ends up playing for them, a little bit of senior hockey, but he's so good that when the American Hockey League comes to town, the AHL, the Cape Breton Oilers, the Oilers farm team sets up. Cape Breton's really remote. It's even more remote in 1991. Oilers can't get a prospect there in time. A couple guys go down hurt. The coach is like, you know who we should get to play is Bruce Campbell. Bruce is literally playing shinny with his buddies, beer league like we play. Boom, goes and plays 15 games in the American League. Next year he plays like 10 in the American League.
Wow.
He was just that good. Wins an Allen Cup national senior title with Truro as he's an assistant coach in Cape Breton in the Quebec League. Just one of those guys. Bruce is a beauty. He sends me video. He's still pressing weight in the gym. And these guys are talking to me about Bruce Campbell, and they're like, all I wanted to do when I was a kid was watch Bruce Campbell warm up because the owner of the New Waterford Jets used to send him out all alone. And as soon as he'd hit the crossbar with a fancy shot, we'd all go to the canteen. And Bruce Campbell this and Bruce Campbell that. And Bruce is a guy. He's in the Cape Breton Sports Hall of Fame. Still lives in New Waterford. Still loved in Cape Breton. I'm going down to do a signing at him at Center 200 at a Cape Breton Eagles game in the Quebec League. And I can't wait to see him. He's just a guy that embodies everything about hockey. And even though he didn't make the NHL, there's still guys who grow up and still talk about him. So
that's cool.
There's a Bruce Campbell in a lot of small towns.
Where's the most unlikely place that was featured in your book, in your opinion?
Well, I don't really think there was anywhere unlikely because, I mean, unlikely for me for this book would have been downtown Toronto.
I understand that.
Or would have been Vancouver. So the beauty thing about this book is it goes to places that don't get publicity. Like we're talking Kerrobert, Saskatchewan, right?
For sure.
Yeah, so that yeah, exactly. Population 500.
Did you go to a lot of the places?
No, phone. As Dangle will tell you, as a Canadian writer, budgets are
right.
They're not as big.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of phone work, but that was the fun part, was just playing the role of investigator and trying to find out who these guys were.
Dude, was anybody surprised that you called? Who was this?
What? The skier, the TV guy? Oh, yeah, really? Okay. Really? They talked about me? Yeah, well, I guess I'll talk to you. Yeah, there was a lot of that. And then the guys were, I mean, you guys know hockey guys, right? They're all about paying it forward. And like Robbie Forbes is in the book. Mm-hmm. He's Sidney Crosby's uncle. And he was one of the few guys who I could find footage of. So he helps Corner Brook, Newfoundland win the Canadian Senior Championships in 1986. He was brought in there. He had tried out for the Nova Scotia Oilers. Small center, scoring, 1985, trying out for Edmonton's farm team. Let's get a couple goons down there. We don't need you. He ends up in Newfoundland. He's still revered there. Now, he was one of the few guys who I could find footage of. So I'm looking at on YouTube of footage of the Corner Brook Royals from 1985-86.
How is that even out there, too?
It's out there. It was just
crazy.
amazing.
Merrick uploaded it himself.
Yeah. I have that in the basement.
If you can find it and you start watching
Okay, what am I looking up here?
Corner Brook Royals, 1985 Allen Cup. Corner Brook Royals, 1986 Allen Cup, pardon me. If you watch it, it's shot wide, right? They're not having ISOs of Robbie Forbes. And at one point I go, that's Robbie Forbes. Because he looks exactly like Sidney Crosby.
By the way, some of these videos have over 5,000-6,000 views. So there are people going back. It's not just Ken watching them.
Good fights in this league, too. So when you watch it, you know how Sid just got the shoulders and the bottom hand way up?
Yeah.
Stick in the backhand?
Yeah.
Slap backhand? That's Robbie Forbes. So this is a league.
Good.
These guys were really good.
Yeah.
This is a league where a lot of former NHLers went to play. A lot of guys were on the bubble. Robbie made more money playing in this league than he could have made in the American League. And this was legit. The fights were good. Machine Gun Gordy Gallant once went out for warm-up at the hangar in Stephenville. It was Stephenville against Corner Brook. Once went out wearing a pair of boxing gloves. I kid you not.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And look at the arena is full.
Yeah.
Packed.
Yeah.
Packed. So this is the rink in Corner Brook. And darts, cigarettes, beer, packed. Lineups of people waiting to get in. They used to have fires around trash cans waiting all night to buy their tickets to see the Corner Brook Royals. So it was pretty special.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. It's very cool.
And we forget that. We forget that, right?
If YouTube was around in the 80s, there's no chance you and I wouldn't have just swapped lives.
No. Yeah.
You absolutely would have been like,
Yeah.
you wouldn't believe what happened tonight. And just yelling and screaming about it. There's no chance.
At the Pinto Mariners game, so I always say to my brother, man, I wish we had footage of a Mariners game from '85. Because what did it really look like? Because in my mind, I know what it looked like. And I always say if I had a time machine, I'd go back to a winter night in '84, '85 and just watch the Pinto Mariners because you're right. There's no footage. It's memory. So in a way, this book's kind of folklore, right? Mm-hmm. You can't really document a lot of the footage because you can't document because there's no footage.
You're such a good storyteller. I almost don't want to see the footage.
Yeah.
I'd rather hear it from you.
Well, the only footage I can find is Robbie Forbes. So I'll look it up. But he looks just like Sid. It's crazy.
I want to say, one of the things that I love history, and one of the things that Canadians are terrible at is telling our own history.
Yes.
Horrendous at it. And talk to anybody about Toronto before the 1970s, and no one knows a single thing. Mm-hmm. We don't know anything about anything. You talk to a New Yorker about New York in the 70s, they could tell you, and they weren't even there.
Right.
And so what's amazing about this is you're telling the history of the small towns. If Toronto can't tell its own history, imagine what it's like in the small towns, right? You're preserving these stories that are shared around a dinner table.
Absolutely, thanks. And what I wanted to do was give a picture of the town as I wrote it. So I kind of set it up, okay, all right, I grew up in Pinto, Nova Scotia. Population was 5,000. Now it's 3,202. 3,200 when my mom and her husband leave town. And, it was fishing and fighting, and there's not a lot of fish left.
No.
So, things like that. But yeah, each town I kind of want to paint a picture of just what the town was. So that was special to do. There's a story in the book I know you guys will love. Did you guys see the fight from the AHL a couple weeks ago? Alex Gallant?
Yep. Oh, my God. Yeah.
How much do you guys think I love that fight?
A lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a 10 out of 10 fight for me, I would think.
So Alex Gallant is the son of Mike Pinky Gallant.
Okay.
Who's in the book.
No way.
Alex is doing that in the American League. His brother Brett does it in the American League as well. But his dad, Mike Pinky Gallant, used to do it in the junior and senior leagues of Prince Edward Island.
Okay.
And the guy Mike Pinky Gallant would fight the most was Stevie Gallant. Whoa. And the guy who talks about it in the book, who loved seeing them scrapped, was Gerard Gallant.
Of course.
Who was the stick boy of Pinky Gallant. And in true PEI fashion, neither Pinky, Steve, or Gerard Gallant are related.
Oh, my God.
Kidding. You're joking.
Now, what's great
not.
about this is people don't understand, unless you've been to PEI, even Canadians don't understand how small PEI is.
It's smaller than Pickering.
It's the most beautiful place in the country. I think Nova Scotia to me is still the most beautiful, but it's nothing is like a PEI summer. Nothing. But you can drive across the island in what, 60 minutes?
No, it's bigger than that. 3 hours, 4 hours. Put it this way.
It depends which way. Top to bottom.
I once closed my eyes, did a 360 with my finger pointing out, and I hit 4 Gallants and 3 Kennedys. But I can say that because I'm from Pictou, and if you do that in Pictou, you hit 5 McDonald's and 6 Mackenzies.
That's right.
So it's all the same.
Not even the restaurant.
That's true.
2019, 156,000 people.
Beautiful place.
In PEI.
So in PEI, these guys, these hometown heroes, are massive in PEI because, remember, it's an island. The only way to get off that place before the link was the ferry that ran through Pictou or Borden in on the west side. Mm-hmm. So when the guys went to games in PEI back in the day, it was literally town against town, family against family. Sometimes family members run opposite teams. George Matthews, fantastic guy, was the play-by-play guy for the Columbus Blue Jackets for a long time. He's interviewed in the book because he used to be the play-by-play guy for Pinky Gallant's team. And he's like, the fights, he goes, I would tell Jody Shelley, Jody, you're tough, but you have to meet Pinky Gallant. So now to see Pinky's sons doing their thing in the American League, it's just awesome. And Pinky passed away a couple years ago. Beauty guy. And he would stay up late at night because Alex, for years, you're playing on the West Coast in the American League. He'd stay up and watch Alex play. He'd stay up and watch Brett play on the East Coast. And Alex can go, as you guys saw in that video. And Alex in the book says, Dad would always get mad at me when I'd switch to my left because Alex can fight with both hands. But Pinky always wanted Alex fighting with the right. And he'd say, Alex, why'd you switch to the left? You were doing so well. And Alex goes, I was bored.
This is one of the things that I love about talking to you about these books, Ken, is it's an idea that I don't think any of us would have thought of and go, but I want to know all about that.
Yeah.
I want to know everything about that. Every book that you've written. Why do you think this is coming to you?
I think it's just me. Like, if you talk to my buddies, I still talk about Teapot nonstop. They know that. Like the boys, a bunch of my buddies grew up and stayed in town, and they played in the Pinto Town Hockey League. And they played on the K-Lee Optical Oilers, or K-Lee Optical Flyers, I think it was called, with Teapot. And my buddy Mark Harone would say, like they'd win a title, Teapot would score the opening goal. They'd say, isn't this perfect? The only thing missing is Kenny Reid, boys. Would he ever love to be here? So it's just me. And it's weird, the older you get, and Dangle, you know this, you're a testament to this. I think I've told you guys this line before, audio slave, to be yourself is all that you can do. You didn't set out to be Steve Dangle. It's just who you are, right? You're a guy who screams and yells about Leafs games. It turns out people can relate to that.
Apparently.
I'm a guy that screams and yells about hometown hockey heroes. I hope people can relate to that, but this is authentic. So it's me, and it's other people. And it's other people who have the same stories as me, and I hope there's other people out there who can relate to it. So if I were to sit here and give you guys a book on the left wing lock and analytics, I wouldn't be true to myself. I could do it and maybe lie my way through it, but I'm just being me, and I'm a small town guy, and I grew up watching small town hockey. And yeah, do I miss it? Absolutely. Do I cherish every time I get to go to a Leafs game or a Habs game? Absolutely. Would I love to watch another hometown Junior C game at the old Pinto Arena? Absolutely. But life comes in chapters, and in this book, I'm just remembering a great chapter.
How lucky are we?
There we go.
We get a really warm feeling when you come in and you tell your stories, man. Like it's really genuinely every single time. And I just want to know when you're going to do a podcast.
Well, when they back the Brinks truck up, I think I'll do it. You guys got to tell me, is there money in this podcasting game? You know?
No, I quit my job for nothing.
Yeah, okay.
There's some.
But yeah, people ask me that all the time, but I'm like, yeah, well, pay me. It's like that Goodfellas line. Pay me. But yeah, this book was so much fun to do, and you guys are going to, I think I hope when people read it, they go, hey, you should have done a story about the guy in my town. So that's what I look forward to.
Oh, maybe there's a second one coming then.
I hope so. That would be nice. I would. There's Robbie Forbes right there. That's Sid's uncle. So
okay.
Look at that. That's
32.
page 32.
Actually, you could see Crosby in his face.
You can.
Here, can you hold it up to the camera?
What a duster as well. That's
guy in the middle, camera 4.
That's Robbie right in the middle. Great dust. And you know what? Like you can see, if you see Sid and conducting himself in interviews, just so classy, and you can see where his uncle's the same way. Just pays it forward. He's got a son who's goaltending now in the Maritime League, Junior A League, and another son who's goaltending now for the Dale Tigers in U Sports. And Robbie, for years, held the scoring record for the University of New Brunswick. So there you go.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Man, Kenny Reid, pick up Hometown Hockey Heroes. There's no other person in the world that could have written this book other than Ken Reid.
Do I get to shout out Ken Reid for coming out to Markham, Ontario in August?
Yeah, you do.
Sorry, Jesse. Yes,
Yeah.
Jesse versus.
So, Ken Reid, thank you for coming out there and playing golf. Go watch Jesse versus. Ken and I have an episode where we just walk around the golf course and he shows how great he is at everything except for putting.
It was a death match. We fought on. Remember the fight on the 16th green?
Oh yeah,
That was a good
bare
one.
knuckle.
No fun at all.
Bare
You
knuckle.
guys think I like hockey fighting? Golf fighting? Highly underrated.
How would you describe Jesse's game?
Good. He's got a
good,
nice
eh?
draw. Didn't you just start?
I really got into it like during the pandemic.
Yeah,
it picked up.
He's got a nice game, nice calm swing. Plays within himself.
Don't you just?
I like it.
He's good at every sport. Every
Like
sport.
Teapot.
Everything in life.
Did you guys know that Teapot? Just be quickly.
Yeah.
Jesse, you're that
Fine.
guy. The other night after a Senators game, when Josh Norris came back, DJ Smith said, Josh is just that guy. You know, if they're screwing around in the back playing a game, he'll win. That's Teapot. Town golf champion, Pinto Lobster Canada lobster banding champion, wins darts, wins pool. Best third baseman you've ever seen at the CN Field. Like, best lobster fisherman by far. Teapot is just our guy. He's just that guy. That's why they call him the legend back home. He's the third
That Jesse is our guy.
He's the sweetest guy. Jesse is your T.
That's right.
T. Blake.
And look, he's got the good facial
I'd be
hair, too.
honored to be in any kind of conversation with T.
Boys, I wish you could meet T. He's the best. His family's so cool too. They're the best.
Well, we'd like to get around and do some shows. I think the East Coast has got to be one of them.
Yeah.
Maybe Kenny, you could bring in some of your pals and we could have a full
Oh
blown.
my God.
Yeah,
What do you
that'd be
think?
cool.
Is there smoking permitted in your room? Boys like their darts, some of them anyway.
We'll talk about it.
We'll open the windows.
Oh, here we go.
Ken Reid, thank
There we
you
go.
so much
Pucks
for
and
coming on.
Thanks, boys.
The Steve Dangle Podcast. Follow the guys on Twitter at Steve_Dangle, at Adam WYLDE, and at Jesse Blake. Connection complete.